Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, Democrats.
Good evening, Democrats.
Good evening.
Good evening, Democrats.
Good evening.
There's a couple people still asleep, I think, so we're going to do it again, and I think this time Congressman Gomez will be on the screen to hear it, so let's do it real loud so he knows how enthusiastic the club is. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, Democrats.
Good evening,
Democrats.
Good evening, Democrats.
Democrats.
Thanks for being here, everybody in here, out there. Welcome to our final membership meeting before the November election. Now,
Hey.
I'm curious to know who here watched the DNC last week. Okay, show of hands. A couple people here were actually at the DNC last week. I see Susie in the back. I see Carolyn Fowler's on, and look at that, Dina and Annalisa. So are you all feeling fired up and ready to go to elect Kamala Harris for president?
Ooh,
Yes.
yeah.
And what about electing Tim Walz as the next vice president of the United States?
Yes.
Are you all ready to call and text to make sure that we elect Sherrod Brown and John Tester and Jackie Rosen and elect Ruben Gallego to keep the Senate?
Yes.
And are you ready to call and text and knock on doors to elect George Whitesides and David Min and Will Rollins and Rudy Salas and Derek Tran? Because if we win just those seats alone here in California and no one else around the country does anything, that would be enough to flip the House and make Hakeem Jeffries Speaker of the House.
Yay.
Yay.
And finally, are you all ready to pull out all the stops here in Santa Monica to elect Dan Hall, Ellis Raskin, Barry Snell, and Natalia Zernitskaya to city council
Yes.
Yes.
so that we can finally be rid of Phil Brock and Oscar De La Torre and all of their efforts to stop affordable housing and give more money to the police than the city even has in the budget, and not allow investigations into leak confidential information and support landlord interests instead of renters, and block the creation of bike lanes and wear shirts with a city seal and send emails pretending to be from the city and pull blankets and pillows out of the hands of the unhoused. And just this morning at 1:30 a.m. to directly instruct the city staff to break the law and instead restore good government and progressive democratic leadership to Santa Monica.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Now, we have a lot to look forward to this November and after, but if we're going to succeed in this election, it means we need every person who can hear my voice to do their part. There's less than 70 days between now and November 5th. We need you, especially you, to commit to volunteering in some of these campaigns. Whatever your priorities are for this election, we want to see you out in the field. If your top priority is Santa Monica City Council, the candidates are already out there doing canvassing every weekend. You can talk to them and start working on it this Saturday. And soon the club is going to be leading our own canvasses as well. Read our emails, subscribe to the newsletter. Our email newsletters are the best place to find out the latest news, especially when we go a few months without a meeting about what we're up to. We will announce all of the GOTV opportunities there. Now, if your top priority is the federal election, let me tell you about the Westside Democratic HQ. Who was there on Thursday night when Kamala Harris accepted the nomination? Craig was there, a few other folks. Ellis was there. The headquarters is at 1241 3rd Street Promenade. We're having our grand opening event on Sunday at noon, September 1st. And we'll be joined by Ted Lieu, Fiona Ma, Betty Yee, Mark Ramos, and more guests. If you don't know, this is the one-stop shop for all federal GOTV work in Santa Monica. We'll be open every day from September 1st through November 5th. We'll have phone banks, we'll have text banks, we will lead vans of canvassers, we'll write postcards, we will train you on how to do all those things. And we will do it all right here in Santa Monica at the HQ, 1241 3rd Street Promenade between Wilshire and Arizona. The work will be focused on three goals: keeping the Senate, flipping the House, and electing Kamala Harris as the 47th President of the United States. So join us on September 1st or any day after that at the headquarters to get involved. Now, we've got a lot to get to tonight. We're going to hear all about all of the state and local ballot measures and vote to either endorse or oppose them. And a little later, we're going to hear from Frankie Carrillo, who's running for assembly in the 52nd district. But first up, we have a special guest who's here with us. This is Congressman Jimmy Gomez, who I first met 12 or 13 years ago when he was in the assembly and working on the Disclose Act. And we were part of that coalition that supported Assemblymember Gomez to pass the Disclose Act. And now he's here with us. He's been in Congress for 3 or 4 terms now, and we're really excited to have him back at the club. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congressman Jimmy Gomez.
Hi, Democrats. How are you?
We're good. We're glad to be here with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. First, thank you. Good to see you, John. Yeah, we worked on the Disclose Act, and I remember that was a hard fight. And I remember, like, you know, the opening for I almost got it done with Ben Allen right before the close of the 2016 session. We were like 2 votes short. And then you know, Javier Becerra's seat opened up. I positioned a bill in the legislature, and I offered it up to 2 members. I said, this bill is going to pass. I know it's going to pass. I need somebody to take it over for me because I was going on to Congress. I've been in Congress 7 years now, but that was Kevin Mullen who picked up that bill and got it done. I was so disappointed I couldn't stay behind to finish that work because it's such important to make sure that we get money out of politics and also make sure that people know who's funding government. But you know what? I was really excited about the convention last week. A lot of energy, a lot of people were out there. They're pumped up. And you know what? People are active. The HQ has, as you know, has already made 1 million dials when it comes to reaching out to voters. And it's really the grassroots groups that are giving a lot of the wind beneath the wings of the Kamala Harris and Tim Walz campaign. It's the first, I would say it's the year in and year out Democrats like yourselves that are doing the hard work, right? There's people that come along for one candidate or one election cycle, then move on. But I know people in this Democratic club and all Democratic clubs are really the backbone of our party and are there year in and year out. And that's going to make a difference. But I'm glad to see that new energy out there. Everything from, you know, now I guess right now there is a Cooks for Kamala, there's Women's for Kamala, Dads for Kamala, Moms for Kamala. And you know what? We're going to win this thing based on that energy. And if we do, we're going to be able to, and we win the House, hold the Senate, we're going to do a lot. People, if next year, one major issue is coming up that's going to help shape the rest of them. And I know this because I'm on the Ways and Means Committee. It's the tax committee. It's the expiration of the Donald Trump tax giveaway for the largest income earners in this country. But, you know, it shows where he values. He basically gave permanent tax cuts to corporations and temporary tax cuts to working people. So we have an agenda, and Kamala Harris is if we raise the taxes on the largest corporations in the country, still have them competitive internationally, we're going to have enough money to invest in childcare, paid family leave, and all these issues. And one thing we're going to, where I think Kamala Harris is heading the right direction is housing. I've always believed that our investment in housing has been too small, too slow, and too inefficient. It costs too much, takes too long. We have to think bigger and we have to think bolder, right? We have to approach this problem like when we built the interstate highway system, when we took on electrification of the United States, because that's kind of challenge we face. We have to build, as she said, 3 million units of new housing within that first 4 years. I think that we need to build 1 million units of housing on top of what's already been built every year, 1 million per year for 10 years for if we really want to take over this housing issue, to really control it. But also for you guys to know is that Ways and Means has jurisdiction over those housing bills. So I reached out to the committee staff. I reached out to the chairman, or who's going to be the next chairman, and I said, I want these bills. So you're looking at the author of the bill that will help incentivize the building of starter homes, new affordable starter homes across the country, as well as the down payment assistance of $25,000. But I'm actually going to go for $50,000 in down payment assistance, because here in California, $25,000 is not enough. And then also, we're going to make sure that we continue to protect renters. We're going to do a lot more than ever before. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are focusing on the issues that people care about. Economic issues, making sure we combat corporations that are trying to price gouge hardworking Americans. We have to oppose, I believe, we have to oppose the merger of Kroger's and Albertsons that will create a bigger monopoly that allows them to raise their prices without being concerned that their customers will go somewhere else, right? So we're going to be focused every single day on these issues. And I know that we're getting ready now. I want you guys to know that the people who are currently in the House are doing the homework when it comes to the tax issues, doing the homework when it comes to housing, doing the homework to combat climate change, doing the homework. And we're looking at the previous bills that we passed and Build Back Better and which ones we can bring back. Affordable child care, the enhanced child tax credit, the cut child poverty in half in this country. We're going to make sure we're going to get a national paid leave program. So this is a bold agenda, but you know what? That's what the American people need. So I know that we're going to do a lot. I have a couple of caucuses I started. The Dad's Caucus. I know you're a new dad. I have a 2-year-old son. He's watching Blue right now. Don't tell his mom. I'm watching him. Oh,
know that one.
hey, what's up? He wants to come up. Okay. So say hi, Hodge.
Hi.
So anybody that's a toddler parent, I know that childcare on average is costing American families 26% of their income towards childcare. And also what you're paying for is to them to get sick and then get you sick. So I know the struggles, but I want to just say that Kamala Harris has been there from day one. When I expanded paid family leave in California, she supported that bill. So people say that she hasn't been there on the issues or criticize that she's not vested, because that's complete bullshit, right? We know she's vested. We know she's committed. And Tim Walz, I mean, he is the guy that understands what families are going through. And when we bring more people in, protect renters, help people who want to be homeowners, making sure that people feel like they're part of our country, and then also feel that when our country does better, they participate and they feel included. That's when we're going to win these races. So Tim Walz is going to be able to help send that message. And then Ruben Gallego, he's a good friend of mine. I've known him since I was in grad school and he was an undergrad. He was at Harvard undergrad and signs up to be an enlistee in the military, the Marines, right? I actually asked him, I'm like, who signs up to be a grunt in the Marines if you went to college? And actually when he told me a story, this is a good story. The drill sergeant, when he was going through boot camp and they found out that he was a Harvard guy, they made him do laps with his bag, because they were like, he either the bravest SOB or the dumbest one, but they made him do laps. I think he's the real deal. He's brave. But when you guys call into Arizona, we're going to actually have somebody like Kristen Sinema, in my opinion, that believes in working people and will not sell us out. I guarantee you that. When we win, when Sherrod Brown is a champion. My wife is from Akron, Ohio. He's held the line in that state for a long time. We're gonna do great things. And then also we have great races here. Taking out Mike Garcia, one of my personal goals is to beat Ken Calver. Why? Because I grew up in Riverside and my first election was in 1994. Yes, I'm that old. But in 1994, when he outed Mark Takano, and I have a gay brother, and that is offensive, and he needs to be defeated. He specifically went after Mark Takano for being LGBTQ and outed him. We need him gone, right? That's who he is. So there's Rudy Salas, Adam Gray. You're right. If we win these seats, we take back the House and we make Adam, and then we make Hakeem Jeffries the next speaker. But I want to tell you this: we have plans to do big things that help people, and you know what? That's the only reason why these jobs are worth it. Are you going to deliver real results? And Biden did a great job on a number of issues. We had some things left unfinished, and we're going to get those done. I promise you that.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Congressman. So, before we let you go, I know I mentioned, but we're talking about the California ballot measures tonight after you go. Are there any measures that you wanted to hype up, make sure the member votes for or against?
I needed to honestly still study the ballot measures. I haven't looked. But I think there's certain things we do. I think there's a housing one. I have to take a look at that one. I'm all about housing. Here's the thing. We can increase the minimum wage, which I'm in support of. I helped do that when I was in the legislature. But I actually told LaFonza Butler when I met with her, I said, we'll increase the minimum wage, but the minimum wage, every increase will be wiped out by increases in rents. Right. So if we do not control the housing crisis, the rent crisis, anything we do to help people with more money will be gobbled up. So we got to go after the shady corporate landlords. We have to make sure that they can't buy single family homes. We have to make sure that they can't price gouge people by charging them high application fees, mail sorting fees. Oh, you want something repaired in your unit? We're going to cost you another $50 for reaching out to the landlord. That kind of stuff has to stop. So I'm going to take a look. I think there is a housing one. I'm going to really kind of study that, but we have a lot of issues to deal with. But and also I also like listening to the community groups about the ballot measures, but I haven't had a chance to really dig into them yet. I having this guy actually takes up a lot more time.
Well, you'll have to watch the YouTube video of the meeting later on to see what what you think about the ballot.
I appreciate that.
How old is your son?
He just turned 2 on the 18th.
So he's literally 3 days older than my son, who just turned 2 on last Wednesday. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
A few things I learned from fatherhood. I thought sleep training was a one-time thing. I had him sleeping 12 hours by 12 weeks, and that didn't stick. 2, I thought, the toddler phase starts at 2 years. Now it really starts at 1.5 years. I have the bite marks to prove it. And then 3, what goes in must come out. So those are the learning curve of a new dad.
Those are good notes for everybody. I agree. Well, thank you so much, Congressman. Really grateful for you to stop by, and we're going to deliver the majority for you in November, and we're looking forward to seeing what you do with it.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Go Democrats.
Good night.
Good night. What's up, buddy?
Okay, so thanks to Congressman Gomez, and now before we go to the ballot measures, we have one last piece of business to discuss, which is the judicial race. We have one remaining race to consider for the November ballot. So last spring, when we did our primary endorsements, several of the judicial candidates we endorsed during the primary just already won outright. They won the race. There's only one other candidate, or they got above 60%. So they're in. Congratulations. A few of the other races, we already endorsed them, but we'll be going back to vote for them in November. Those are George Turner, Erica Wiley, Sharon Ransom, and Georgia Huerta. They'll be on the ballot. We've already endorsed them. We're going to put them on our mailer and everything. The one seat where we did not reach an endorsement in the primary, but we still will have on our ballot in the fall, is office 137, where 2 Democrats remain. That's we'll be hearing from both of them now. Then the race will be on our ballot later on this evening with all the ballot measures to vote on. So let me just, yep, I see them both on Zoom. So let's welcome Luz Herrera and Tracy Blount. And Luz, if you want to start, each candidate will get 2 minutes.
For considering this race again. My name is Luz Herrera, and I grew up in the East Side communities of Whittier, Montebello, East LA. My grandparents, well, my great-grandmother immigrated from Mexico in the 1930s, and my parents immigrated in the 1960s, and they met there. I spent my childhood in Whittier, California, selling at swap meets. I used to go with my parents, and we used to sell Mexican food products before there was the Hispanic or ethnic aisles at places like Albertsons or Kroger's or any of those places. My parents really valued education and supported me through my education, public education, and it got me to Stanford University and Harvard Law School, and that opened opportunities that I never imagined. I've spent 24 years in practicing law. I've been a California lawyer for 24 years. My practice has primarily been in the civil area. I've never done any criminal or immigration for that extent, since people see my last name and think I do. A lot of my work, I started doing real estate work, working for hotel chains and banks, and doing some corporate practice. And I very quickly found it really wasn't for me. I went on to start my own practice and represented individuals and small businesses and a lot of different civil areas, a lot of family law, some landlord tenant, but also estate planning, and represented small businesses. My work has primarily been in civil, like I said, and I started my practice in Compton. And after being there for some time, I realized that there was a need for more than what I could deliver. So I started a nonprofit organization called Community Lawyers that's been around now for 19 years, that really helps people navigate their legal issues. I currently teach law. I'm a law professor, and I'm not just teaching law, but I'm training new lawyers. So I practice alongside of students so that they can learn not only the law and how to execute their clients' needs, but also how to treat clients and how to be client-centered and how to enter into agreements. So I have experience working with lawyers, and feel that will be a great asset for me in the courthouse, as we have lawyers of all types and stripes that go in there. And I really hope that I can get your endorsement, because I've spent my career advancing access to justice. I'm not able to be there because I'm just finished up a presentation at a conference to talk about the ways in which clinical legal education advances legal aid for those populations that don't qualify. I hope I will add your endorsement to the list of other great endorsements that I've received, including the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, SJU 721, the East Area Progressive Democrats, and more than 35 judges, dozens of community leaders and others. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to your support. More information about me and the endorsements are on my webpage on luzherrera.com. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And now we'll hear from Tracy Blount.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for having me again. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. I'm moving my daughter into her college apartment. So here I am. I'm Tracy Blount. I'm running for seat 137. I've been a Democrat for 38 years, ever since I could vote. So now you know how old I am. I went to Berkeley, and I went to Syracuse University's College of Law until it started snowing, and it was way too cold, so I came home. And I went to University of Laverne College of Law at night. And back then, that was one of the only schools that had an evening program. I went at night because I wanted to work full time. I started working for county council as a paralegal back in 2001. I worked there for 4 years as a paralegal. we represent LA County and the Board of Supervisors. And I went to the San Bernardino County DA's office for a year until County Council got their act together and hired me. I did criminal appeals at the DA's office, and there was one case I'm particularly proud of where we worked to undo a man's sentence so that he wasn't going to be deported and separated from his family, and that allowed him to stay in this country. Back when I got back to County Council's office after a year, I worked for 12 years trying cases in dependency court where we handled child abuse and neglect cases. I did that for 12 years, as I said, and then I went to the warrant desk, and that's where I've been for the past 7 years. So I've had a lot of trial court experience, being in court daily for those 12 years. And I appeared before who I feel were the best judges, because dependency court, what you're dealing with is very heavy work. It's hard, heavy meaning emotional. And the judges are the trier of fact. The cases are confidential, so the public's not allowed. So the judge has to make the decisions on those cases too. In addition to the work I've done, though, I've been on a lot of different committees. I've been on the psychotropic medication committee, which assists foster youth who have to take psychotropic medication. I'm currently on the mandated supporter initiative, which is hard at work to make sure that cases are not, that families are not reported to Child Protective Services because of reasons of poverty, things like that. I'm on my office's inclusion and diversity committee. I'm the attraction and recruitment chair. So we do outreach in the community now, including high school students in underserved areas so they can be exposed to, different careers in the law. And personally, I am also involved in other committees in my private, outside of work, I should say. And I'm also a member of AKA sorority, which is also the sorority that one of our presidential candidates is a member of. I won't say who. And so I've been,
Sorry.
okay. So I've been very involved in my career. I'll just finally say that I have the endorsement of the LA County Democratic Party, the LA Times, and I'm pleased that the Bar Association for LA County found me to be well qualified, and a number of others, including Stonewall and Torrance and West Hollywood, et cetera. So all of that is to say thank you again, and I hope that I have your support. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I know you can't always hear it on Zoom, but just so everyone knows, both candidates got big applauses. And we want to thank both of you. Again, later on in the evening, we'll have the chance to vote for your favorite when the ballots come out. Okay, so now we're going to go to the ballot measures section, the main part of the evening. And I want to welcome up here our legislative VP, Isabel Story, and our board member at large, Lynn Cervini. They both worked really hard on this, and I'm really grateful for them. So thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause before they even start. Now, we will turn over the stage to them for the time being.
Okay, there you go, John.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks so much. Yes, as John said, Lynn and I have been working on this for the last 2 months. Looking into all the ballot measures, getting speakers, pro and con on all of them. And so we're going to take you through, and sometimes it's daunting with all these ballot measures. We're going to give you the basics on each one, the pros, the cons, so you can make up your mind. And also at the end, we will have an email vote on endorsements. So just to clarify, you will see board endorsements. So the board already considered these as making recommendations, but you are completely free, when it's your turn to vote how you want to. Your vote will be confidential. Sometimes the club votes as the board recommends. Sometimes the club votes a different way, and all that is fine. So to give you a preview of what we're going over, there are 10 measures on the state ballot. There will be 3 LA County measures and 4 right here in Santa Monica. We have pro and con speakers for most of these. If we don't have a speaker, I will either summarize the position in question, or we will entertain someone from the floor, from the Zoom, if they want to speak on that measure. Let's see, what else is the people who are allowed to vote will be members of Santa Monica Democratic Club. You do have to be a member in good standing to vote. And that will come at the end of the presentation later this evening by email. For our speakers. Yes, Mike has something.
Clarify that only vote on those things that will appear on your ballot. So people who live in Santa Monica will be voting on all of the things we hear tonight. People who live outside of Santa Monica will be voting on everything except the purely Santa Monica.
Okay, just as Mike said. So you will be voting, to repeat for the people on the Zoom. So later on, when you receive your email ballot, you will just be voting on the measures that will actually appear on your ballot this November. So if you're in Santa Monica, you'll vote on everything. If you're not in Santa Monica, you'll just have the California and the LA County measures. Each speaker will have 3 minutes, pro and con. And if there are 2 speakers, then they'll each get 1 minute for rebuttal. And we have drafted one of our members, Francis here. We're going to try this new little cube timer. This we think will have a little beep at the end of 3 minutes and a beep at the end of 1 minute. So if you're in the room and we're told that you will be able to hear this on the Zoom, that will mean, if you hear the beep, your time is over. And if for any reason you don't hear it, Francis will get up and say time, and that should give you the clue that your time is over. Okay, so I think we can get started. So we're starting with the statewide measures, and they're gonna be 2 bonds on the ballot. So the first one is Proposition 2, that's a school bond. And is Katie Hardman on the Zoom? Okay, so to tell us about Proposition 2, we have Katie Hardman. She's a legislative advocate from the California Teachers Association.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great, awesome. All right, good evening. Again, my name is Katie Hardiman. I'm with the California Teachers Association. But tonight I'm basically a volunteer for the Yes on Prop 2 campaign. And I've worked on education public policy for over 15 years now. And so really I'm just passionate about fully funding our public schools so students can thrive. And I believe, school facilities is an essential part of that. The research has shown that a school's physical environment is integral to a student's achievement and a motivation in school. And I've certainly seen that with my own kids. So it's not a surprise, our public schools and community colleges are aging and they need to be upgraded so students have access to upgraded things like STEM classrooms and labs so we can provide that 21st century learning. So Prop 2 is a statewide school facilities bond. It will provide $10 billion investment in California schools and community colleges without raising taxes. So this will ensure schools receive upgrades to meet things like basic health and safety standards, prepare them for college and careers, and be able to better attract and retain teachers, which we know is also good for students. So some of the specifics include $3.3 billion for new construction of facilities, $4 billion for modernization of facilities, $600 million for charter school facilities, $600 million for career technical education facilities, and $1.5 billion for our community colleges. So that's kind of the breakdown. And additionally, the Prop 2 includes sort of an equity component. So if you're a lower wealth school district, you'll receive kind of a higher percentage of state funding. And it also has a mechanism for providing 100% for projects that districts are eligible for what's called financial hardship. So if you're unable to provide that matching funds. So I'm basically here asking for you to support Prop 2, which is a critical school funding measure. This is really an investment in our students and our future. So hopefully can get your support tonight.
Okay, thank you very much, Katie. And Craig Mordaunt is Craig Mordaunt in the house to speak against is he here? Has he sent you a message or have you talked to him, Lynn?
Isabel, I didn't see him sign into the Zoom.
Okay. He's supposed to be in person.
But we are ahead of schedule.
We're ahead of schedule.
Yeah, it's 7:39 right now, and we're gonna start these at 7:45.
Okay. All right, well, I think we will just go on to the next measure and see if he arrives later. Okay, we will go on to Proposition 3, marriage equality. This is one, there are a couple of measures on the ballot that actually started with legislation that our club endorsed. So this is one of those. It started as ACA 5 and passed the legislature, and our club endorsed it, and now it's on the ballot. And we have to speak for this, Erica Lightman. Is Erica Lightman on the Zoom? Okay, well, we may have a little issue because we're a little bit ahead of schedule. All right, well, we're just gonna have to see who's here. Let's see. Is Dagny Ellenberg on the Zoom? Oh, we're just gonna have to see who's here. Would you guys just look ahead on the schedule and see who's here?
Steve Massetti just signed in, and my guess is that he's with the local school bond issue.
No, we actually have Alicia on that, but she's.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And I haven't seen her yet.
Aha, okay. Yeah, you're early. Yeah, okay. One of our guests has just arrived in the room. So without too much ado, Craig, but except you didn't get to hear the pro arguments on the school bond, but you probably know what the school bond is, right? Because you're speaking in opposition? Yes. Okay. So we've just had the speaker speaking for it. And so speaking against Proposition 2 is Craig Mordaunt. He's the general counsel at the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. So Craig, you want to come on up? And you will have 3 minutes. You'll be speaking to the room, but also make sure that they can, this is you on the Zoom, that they can see you on there, and that'll be
Okay.
on the recording.
Great,
Okay.
thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. As was said, I'm with the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. We are concerned mainly with taxpayer issues and the impact on taxpayers that issues have. As you know, Prop 2 is a $10 billion bond, new state debt to pay for school facilities. Proposition 2 commits California to pay an estimated $18 billion in interest for school buildings that may not even be necessary. Enrollment is declining in both K-12 district schools and community colleges, and the declines are projected to continue as more people and businesses leave the state. We believe the state should include school repairs in its regular budget rather than turn to taxpayers who are already overburdened. It's just some general financial facts. In December 2023, the state's nonpartisan budget analyst projected a deficit of about $68 billion for California's 2024-2025 fiscal year. According to a recent report from Forbes.
You know that the schools are gonna need money.
Excuse me, I didn't realize this was interactive. According to a recent report from Forbes, based on publicly available data, California ranks 3rd among all states in cost of living. The July energy price data from California's Center for Jobs and the Economy reveals that we are number one in residential electricity rates, number one in commercial electricity rates, number one in cost of gasoline, and number one in cost of diesel. We are also number one in individual income tax burden. We are only number 5 in overall tax burden, according to an April study by Wallet Hub. While it's true that the bond itself, plus the interest, will be repaid by the state, local school districts are required to provide matching funds, except on very rare occasions, in order to receive the state funding. These matching funds will and most likely be generated by local bond measures, which are repaid exclusively by property owners. That means higher rents and higher prices as businesses pass the increased costs on to consumers. The matching fund system is also unfair. Districts with low wealth and property values are limited in the amount of bonds they can raise, the amount of money they can raise through bonds, while wealthy districts and large urban districts like Los Angeles and San Francisco can raise much more. So as a result, we are opposed.
Okay, we're going to give Katie a minute for rebuttal, and if you would like an additional minute after that, you will be allowed that. Okay, so Katie, we take it to you. You have a minute to respond to what Craig has said.
Great, thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to respond. I just want to be clear that Proposition 2 does not increase taxes. This is a school facility bond and is simply sort of a financing mechanism that the state often utilizes when paying for sort of large infrastructure projects. So this is not uncommon, especially for school bonds. And then I would just say, the statewide bond, could provide it will provide local schools with resources they need to build and upgrade their facilities, and could actually reduce the need for tax increases at the local level, because this is, state funding that the state is providing. So that's all I had to add.
Okay, Craig, do you have anything to say in response to that?
Only a couple of points. As we are in such a huge deficit, any money out of the general fund is going to put pressure on the state to want to raise taxes, and the local funds will most likely be raised through local bonds, which will add property taxes.
Okay, you didn't quite take a whole minute. Katie, was there anything else in a few seconds, or did you make your point?
Oh, I did forget to add on the declining enrollment point. Although some of our schools do have declining enrollment, that doesn't always equate to closing an entire school, as you know, and so there's not always those cost savings. So just wanted to flag that.
Okay, well, thank you so much. All right, I want to thank both of our speakers on the school bond. That was very informative. So now, is Erica Leekman on the Zoom? Okay, I think we're closer to the time we actually told people. So as I was saying, Proposition 3, marriage equality. This came out of a piece of legislation that our club endorsed. So now it's on the ballot. And to speak on that, Erica Leekman is from the Southern California Coalition's manager for the Yes on Prop 3 campaign.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight, and thank you for your past support of this effort. My name is Erica Leekman. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm so proud to be here on behalf of the Yes on Prop 3 campaign, and to share with you tonight why we are putting this important initiative on the ballot and fighting for our rights this November. As we all know, marriage equality is federal law. But what many people don't know is that there is still language in California's state constitution that states that only marriage between a man and a woman is valid or recognized in California. And while that language has been unenforceable because of the Supreme Court ruling, we have seen in recent decisions that the U.S. Supreme Court is showing that it's willing to upend decades of precedent, and that many of the hard-earned rights that we've fought for in America are at risk. There are conservative Supreme Court justices, including those who were appointed during the Trump administration, who have made it clear that they're ready and willing to take that next opportunity to undermine or to overturn marriage equality. And that's why this November, no matter who's elected president, this risk still exists at the Supreme Court level. So our state legislature took action and unanimously passed ACA 5, which put this ballot initiative on the ballot as Proposition 3 to protect our rights here in the state of California. We're proud to have a very diverse coalition of leaders throughout the state supporting this initiative and to have the endorsement of the California Democratic Party. What Prop 3 will do is it'll remove that harmful and discriminatory language that I just mentioned that's still in our state constitution, and it will protect the fundamental freedom to marry for all of us, regardless of gender and regardless of race or ethnicity here in the state of California. It's so important that we protect our communities, and every single Californian, all of us, should have the right to marry who we love. So please join us in voting yes and supporting Proposition 3 this November. Thank you.
All right, well, thanks so much, Erica. We do not have an opposed speaker to this, but there is some opposition. So I'm going to summarize the opposition. Prop 3 is opposed by groups such as California Family Council and the American Council of Evangelicals. Some of the points that they make are that, first of all, they say that same-sex marriage has already been legal across the country in 2015, and that Prop 3 is fixing a problem that doesn't exist. They claim it removes essential safeguards on marriage, including children marrying each other, close relatives marrying each other, and 3 or more people marrying each other. But they say this is all because the wording is unclear in the proposition. And they also say that by changing the definition of marriage from being between a man and a woman, that this suggests that children really don't need a mom and a dad. So those are some of the arguments. Erica, what would you say in response to that?
Yeah, thank you for that. So I want to be extremely clear here. Prop 3 will not change any laws related to the number of people in a marriage. It won't change the age requirement for marriage, and it will not give any new grounds to change those laws. The California Constitution establishes our fundamental rights, so in this case, the freedom to marry, and our laws dictate the specifics. How old you have to be married, what paperwork you need to fill out, etc. And so what Proposition 3 will do is simply ensure that the Constitution reflects what the courts have already said regarding who can get married.
Okay, well, thanks so much. And since I am not a speaker with one of the groups, I'm not going to be doing a rebuttal. I was just, as a courtesy, summarizing the opposed arguments. All right, so let's move on to the other climate bonds. I told you there were 2 climate bonds. The second one, there were 2 bonds on the state ballot. So the second one is on climate. This also grew out of a bill that our club, not that our club endorsed, but it was by our state senator, Ben Allen. SB 867 was his legislation that passed that has led to this ballot measure. So we do have a pro and a con speaker on that. So is Dagny Ellenberg in the Zoom?
I am.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi. Dagny is a campaign consultant for Yes on 4.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you guys so much for having the Yes on 4 campaign. We're super excited to be here and talk to you guys about the bond tonight. So just to get into kind of what the bond is. So Prop 4 is a historic investment in California's climate resiliency. As we all know and are experiencing, California and the rest of the country is facing devastating wildfires, droughts that have become more frequent and more intense, and just a whole range of other impacts from climate change. that's harming our communities and costing our state billions of dollars in response. Prop 4 aims to move into a more prevention-focused stance for the states from making urgent and common sense investments to protect our communities' health and economy by increasing and cleaning up water supplies, preventing wildfires, and preserving our forests, beaches, and freshwater sources, as well as the wildfire habitats that make our state so special. The bond aims to take action for results now while preventing costly future disasters. So you'll see a lot of the funding in here is focused on prevention. So moving into a more active stance when it comes to wildfire, drinking water, et cetera. The $10 billion bond was placed on the November ballot after a strong legislative campaign that was led by our local state senator, Ben Allen, and it earned bipartisan support. So $10 billion. I want to get into kind of where these investments go, right? And where we'll see some of these locally, as well as obviously statewide. So the vast majority of the investment, $3.8 billion, is allocated specifically for safe drinking water and water resilience. $1.5 billion goes specifically to wildfire prevention measures. So, tree thinning, working on resiliency around people's homes, those type of things that are really, really focused on not response to wildfire, which generally comes out of the general fund, but preventing it. We have $1.3 billion in there for protection of our iconic landscapes and wildlife, and then $1.2 billion for protection of our coast. $850 million goes for clean energy infrastructure, $700 million to create parks and outdoor access, specifically focused on where it's needed most. $450 million goes for extreme heat protection. So really, in big cities, in the Central Valley, cooling centers, and those types of emergency response things that people really need when the temperature gets turned up. And then $300 million for sustainable agriculture. Of that money, a lot of that cities, nonprofit organizations, et cetera, can apply for grants and it'll be doled out, but there's specific investments that are going to be seen locally that are delineated in there, including $163 million for the Rivers and Mountains Conservancy and Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy. That's specifically for climate resilience and wildfire resilience projects. $80 million for LA River revitalization and parkway connectivity, and $48 million for the Baldwin Hills Conservancy. And then I just want to mention that of all of the investments in the bond, 40% will go to low income and historically under-resourced communities. The campaign for Prop 4 is proud to have the support of the California Democratic Party.
We're just going to say the endorsement. Let her just finish.
I was just going to say endorsements.
Yeah. Say that quickly, please.
Awesome. California Democratic Party, CAL FIRE, League of California Cities, League of Women Voters, California Labor Fed, California Teachers Association, Nature Conservancy, Clean Water Action, Coalition for Clean Air, and a bunch of others.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, well, we have Craig here from the Taxpayers Association. Craig is going to tell us why we should not vote for Prop 4.
I'll be short, so it'll even out.
Okay.
As I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of fiscal and financial problems. California already, in addition to our regular debt, we carry too much bond debt. Our bond debt was over $78 billion as of January 1st. We added another $6.3 billion in March for Proposition 1. Prop 4 would add another $10 billion in bond debt, which works out to another potentially $18 billion with interest to pay for programs, including salaries for all the groups that receive the money. Bond financing only makes sense for necessary projects that will last more than 30 years it takes to repay the debt. That's not the case in this instance. The governor has already declared a budget emergency because the state takes in more than it spends more than it takes in. Spending even more on credit card is a bad idea. If the programs are worthwhile, and they should be funded in the budget. We have to remember these bonds will be paid by people decades from now who didn't get to vote for their authorization.
Okay, thanks so much, Craig. And you will have Dagnu a minute to respond to what Craig just said.
Thank you. I'll go quickly. So according to the Legislative Analyst's Office, and just in terms of repayment and all those things, the bond's actually looking like it will save money for a lot of cities, as it'll help fund programs that they'd otherwise have to fund, long-term programs. It also has, an unknown amount of savings in terms of disaster prevention, so preventing wildfires, helping prevent drought, long-term water supply assistance, et cetera. I also noted a couple questions on accountability. I want to note that there will be annual independent audits on funding and full transparency on all spending. So we'll be able to see where the money is actually going. And this is separate, but it's just an aside I found helpful. Our company's founder sits on the Parks and Rec Commission for the city of Los Angeles, and we actually see firsthand how a lot of these funds are getting doled out in the city and really helping, increase open space in communities that need it most, with climate resiliency projects, et cetera. I mean, these are just critical funds that go to major projects that the state needs. General fund funding is typically year on year, so this really looks at what we need to protect California's future.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And do you have a response to that? Okay.
Saving money, local tax money, but we're spending it statewide is just different pockets. We're still spending the same money. And when you look at recent news, the city of LA had to return $40 million because they misspent it on their low-income housing project. So I'm not all that confident as to locals' ability to spend money properly.
Okay, well, thank you so much. A lot of good information there about the climate bond. And so decide for yourselves, everybody. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. Prop 5. So Prop 5 is known as for affordable housing and public infrastructure measure. And we will have a pro and a con speaker. So to speak for Proposition 5 is Jose Ugarte in the Zoom. Yep. Okay, good. Now our speakers are here. Okay, so Jose Ugarte is the housing advocate and Prop 5 supporter.
Good evening, everybody. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Good evening, Democrats. My name is Jose Ugarte. I'm based out of South Los Angeles. I'm here to talk about Prop 5. Prop 5 gives local voters more power to address affordable housing and public infrastructure needs in their communities. What Prop 5 does, it lowers the housing bond threshold from 66%, which is 2/3 it currently has, to 55%. If those bonds have strict accountability and oversight. Basically, it gives local control to cities. Instead of giving it to Sacramento or the state, it gives it to local cities that want to pass any kind of bonds for infrastructure, for public infrastructure, for housing, low income, middle income, roads, transit, water, and fire stations. It covers. It comes with local oversight. It's if a city wants to put this on the measure, the city governs itself, and that's all I have.
You still have time. That was just somebody else on the Zoom talking.
I had more time?
Yeah, that was just somebody on the Zoom talking. That was not the timer.
Okay, sorry about that. So throughout California's efforts to address our housing infrastructure needs have failed us to deliver. We've had over 100 different bonds that failed us in the last 4 years because they didn't reach the 66% threshold. And if this law takes effect, those bonds would have passed. They would have brought affordable housing, it would have brought market rate housing to the cities, whatever their needs are be. And that's all I got. Thank you for your time.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And now we will check in with, is Tobias Wilkin on the Zoom?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so Tobias Wilkin, a policy advocate with the California Taxpayers Association.
Yeah, well, good evening and thank you for having me. My name is Tobias Wilkin, policy advocate with the California Taxpayers Association. CalTax is opposed to Proposition 5 because it would erode taxpayer safeguards in the state and increase the cost of living, which is the last thing Californians need. As Jose mentioned, Proposition 5 would reduce the existing 2/3 vote threshold for general obligation bonds to 55% if those bonds finance public infrastructure or affordable housing. Caltax and myself as a renter and someone who would like to own a home in the state someday supports the goal of making the state more affordable for home buyers, but Proposition 5 simply would not accomplish that goal. In fact, it would take a step precisely in the wrong direction by increasing the cost of living, including the cost of owning a home, renting a home, and running a small business. And I'll start by addressing some of the claims of proponents of Proposition 5. So proponents often claim Prop 5 is not a tax increase. This is simply not true. Prop 13, approved by voters in 1978, limited the property tax to 1% of a property's assessed value. For a median single-family home in the state, the monthly property tax is nearly $1,000. If Prop 5 is approved, this monthly property tax could increase dramatically. Local general obligation bonds are repaid with property tax increases on homeowners and businesses. And when you factor in the interest of repaying these bonds, taxpayers have to pay almost $2 for every $1 of bond debt issued. In some areas, taxes to finance outstanding bond debt reach thousands of dollars for the average taxpayer. And Prop 5 would make it easier to issue this bond debt and therefore would make it easier to levy additional property taxes on homeowners, renters, and business owners. If they didn't think Prop 5 would increase taxes, the proponents wouldn't be supporting it. The entire point of the measure is to simply increase taxes. Proponents also often claim that the 2/3 vote is anti-democratic. We would also disagree with this claim. The 2/3 vote for general obligation bonds was established when voters approved the first California Constitution in 1879, and it has served taxpayers well for nearly 150 years. The 2/3 vote serves the purpose of requiring bipartisan, widespread community consensus on local issues. So if a community wants to spend billions of dollars on new projects, they should seek to appeal to a broad coalition of supporters who would inevitably fund the project. Finally, proponents often state that under the current vote threshold, it's impossible to pass, critically needed general obligation bonds. Again, that's simply not true. From 2012 to 2022, cities, counties, and special districts placed 75 general obligation bonds on the ballot. Voters approved 56% of these bonds, representing $15 billion in new taxes. Local governments don't face an insurmountable problem passing bonds currently. As shown by the data, they must simply provide a clear reason why voters should approve this new bond debt, including demonstrating that they are spending this tax dollars wisely. And for these reasons, we are recommending that Santa Monica Democratic Club take an opposed position.
Well, exactly on 3 minutes. Very good. All right. Well, Jose, you've heard what Tobias has to say. How do you respond to that?
Thank you, Tobias. I reiterate, this is not a tax, 100% not a tax. If it was a tax, it would have taken a different approach to being a prop that's on the ballot that we can vote on. It typically gives local cities, the ability to put a bond on their own ballot in their own city. So if the city of Santa Monica has enough money for housing and a fire station, they wouldn't put it on the ballot, and the resident of Santa Monica wouldn't be affected by Prop 5. The city of Southgate that needs funding for housing, affordable housing, a local park, they would put it on the bond, and the city of Southgate residents would then vote to pass it or not. So it's not a tax. This would simply be a vote to lower the bond threshold from 66% to 2/3. A lot of you guys know that nothing really passes with 2/3 these days, to 55%. It's not even under 50, it's 55% to kind of work around a lot of supporters that we have. We are endorsed by the California Democratic Party. We are endorsed by the California Labor Federation. We are endorsed by SCU California. We are endorsed by almost all of labor. And because this is a pretty good progressive solution to our housing issues that we have in California.
Okay.
Thank you,
Jose. And Tobias, there's 1 minute left if you would like to use that for any response.
Yeah, I'll just restate again, this is a tax increase, making it easier to pass bonds, which are financed by taxes on the property, on, your homes, your small businesses. Making it easier to pass taxes is a tax increase. And I would just, to respond to Jose saying that it's impossible to pass bonds, as we mentioned in the data, over half of the bonds that are put on the ballot currently are being passed with that 2/3 vote threshold. Again, cities, counties, special districts must provide a reasonable cause why they should pass a bond. They should convince voters why this bond is important, and they should appeal to voters. And if you do that, as the data shows, these bonds pass. So we would say keep the 2/3 vote threshold. It's fair, it's reasonable, and Prop 5 is a tax increase.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Good to hear both sides of that. So we're deciding, to pass bonds. Is it going to be 2/3 or 55%? We've heard the reasons from our two speakers. Okay, now moving on to Prop 6. This is called the Anti-Slavery Amendment. Kind of, oh, do we, I know, are we still there? Do we still need to ban slavery? Actually, there is one aspect of slavery still legal, and that's incarcerated people. So this is what this proposition refers to. This also started as a bill. It was ACA 8, which our club endorsed. It was part of, some of our club members may remember the reparations package from the California Legislative Black Caucus. We endorsed all those 14 bills, and this is one that now needs to go to the voters. So to speak on this and explain what it is and what it does, we have Chris Lotchen. Is Chris Lotchen? Oh, okay. He's not on the Zoom yet. So we will skip that one for now. Brian Bloom, is he on the Zoom? Now we're ahead of schedule. No, I don't want to do the con speaker for the pro speaker. That would really make sense. I just wanted to see if there's another measure where the speakers are here. Actually, there's one coming up that this is a perfect filler. Prop 33. I'll just tell you about it. Because our club has already endorsed Prop 33, so we are not going to have speakers on that, but I'm just going to remind you what it is, although we have one of the big proponents of Prop 33, but all our club members have heard from Susie Shannon about it, and we had a vote earlier, but I'm going to remind you what it is, so when it comes to voting, you'll remember that the club endorsed it. So Prop 33 is basically allows rent control to be expanded in California. And it does that by repealing the Costa-Hawkins Rental Housing Act that was passed years ago, and which has limited rent control in our state. So Prop 33 would reverse that. It would allow cities to implement rent control on homes built after 1955, which currently cannot be done. And it allows cities to pass what is called vacancy control, which means basically, if the old tenant moves out and the new tenant moves in, there's still a limit that the landlord can't jack the rent up in an unlimited way. There's a cap on how much the rent can be increased. So that is Prop 33, also known as Justice for Renters. And just to remind you that we have already endorsed that bill. Okay, I'm going to check now. Is Brian in yet? He's just joining now. Okay. Sure. Yeah, I'll just start to introduce that one. So now we're going to go back to Prop 32, and this is the minimum wage measure. It will basically increase the minimum wage to $18 by 2026, and then allow it to be adjusted upward after that annually for inflation. And joining us in the Zoom now, our pro speaker is Brian Bloom. He's the political, is he in yet?
Yeah, but I have not closed, so I can't see if anybody's waiting for me.
Okay. Oh, did he just tell Lynn he was joining the Zoom?
He was just planning to get on a minute ago, but.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, but Susie's here for Prop 34. Is Vanessa Carr in the Zoom? That would be the next one.
So, yeah, Vanessa.
Yep, I'm in the Zoom.
Okay, all right. So we will skip for now 32. We're going on to 34.
Isabel,
Yes.
Brian Bloom just came into the room if you wanted to
Yeah,
go back.
that'd be less confusing if we did this one now. Okay, so Brian Bloom is here. He is the political director of California Federation of Labor Unions, the AFL-CIO, speaking on Prop 32 minimum wage. I'm told he's here.
Brian, you're muted. So if you catch your breath and you're up. You're still on mute. Ah, good. Can't hear you.
Okay, well, I'm used to these technical problems on Zoom. We'll wait a few seconds and see. Patricia, can you see what's going on with him?
His image disappeared, but hold on a second. Let me look and see if he's
All right,
still.
let's just wait a few more seconds, and if there are more technical issues, we'll go on to 34.
Okay, sorry about that.
So Patricia, do you see him?
I do not see him right now.
Okay, maybe he's having trouble connecting. Okay, so well, we know Vanessa is here, and we know Susie's in the room, so we're gonna go on to 34. Okay, 34 has to do with healthcare provider spending. And I'm not even going to try to explain it. I'm going to let them explain it. So speaking in favor of it is Vanessa Carr with the Prop 34 Coalition's team.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me in the room?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. My apologies for not being able to be there in person. I came back from the DNC in Chicago, and sadly, like several people, have COVID. So probably for the best for me to stay at home, but it's a pleasure to join this meeting and speak on behalf of the Yes on 34 campaign. And I'm here to just talk a little bit more about Prop 34 and why we think you all should support this initiative. So Prop 34 does three things. It makes the Medi-Cal RX program permanent in state law. Medi-Cal RX is a statewide low-cost drug program that was created in 2019 and implemented in 2022 that has provided billions of dollars in savings to the state of California, while also providing low-cost pharmaceuticals to millions of Californians. It also, Prop 34 would prevent abuse of this, the 340B federal drug discount program by requiring healthcare providers with poor track records to use 98% of the revenues obtained from the federally discounted prescription drugs on direct patient care. And then finally, it would prohibit violators of this act from providing healthcare in California for at least 10 years. So why is Prop 34 needed? So currently, unfortunately, there's a massive loophole in our healthcare system that has allowed hundreds and millions of state and federal taxpayer dollars to be diverted away from patient care. And Prop 34 simply emphasizes and prioritizes patient care. So this federal drug discount program, which I discussed earlier, was created to help nonprofit healthcare providers increase care to low-income patients. This program has allowed eligible nonprofits to purchase prescription drugs at a significant discount. The mission of this federal statute was to give these entities access to price reductions in order to stretch federal resources as far as possible, reaching more eligible patients and providing more comprehensive services. These discounts not only allow prescriptions to be dispensed to low-income patients who otherwise could not afford to purchase prescription drugs, but also allows nonprofits who also receive higher reimbursement rates when their patients have health insurance through Medicaid and Medicare. So, however, unfortunately, there are some nonprofits who have abused in this program by diverting hundreds of millions of dollars, which should be directed towards patients, to other projects that have nothing to do with patient care. And so, Yes on 34 simply will stop the worst abuses and closes loopholes to ensure that these funds are spent on direct patient care as intended. Our coalition is proud to have the support of various patient care advocates and groups, such as the ALS Foundation, the California Chronic Care Coalition. We have also just earned the endorsement of the California Professional Firefighters and the United Nurses Associations of California. Happy to share this, list of other groups that have endorsed our coalition, but we're very proud of the coalition that we've built. As you can see, there are patient care advocates who've supported us along the way. So appreciate your time.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And so we have in the room our opposed speaker, Susie Shannon, who our club knows well. She's a rent control advocate and she's on the No on 34 campaign. Thank you. And Susie, you're in the room and you're
Great.
here on the Zoom.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susie Shannon, and I'm with the No on 34 campaign. And here are some questions. What if big tobacco could stop nonprofits from fighting to end smoking? What if big oil could stop nonprofits from fighting to lower carbon emissions? What if anti-abortion groups silenced the National Organization for Women? What if billionaire corporate landlords put an initiative on the ballot that could silence the biggest supporters of renters' rights? That is exactly what Proposition 34 is designed to do. This is a revenge initiative, and it is placed on the ballot by the California Apartment Association and by corporate billionaire landlords, and it's funded by MAGA extremists to silence renter advocates and to stop rent control advocacy. Proposition 34 targets specifically AIDS Healthcare Foundation, which is the leading funder of the last 3 rent control ballot initiatives, including Yes on Proposition 33, which this club supports. It's also a very slippery slope. The taxpayer dollars that the other side is talking about are not taxpayer dollars. That is a prescription drug rebate program that organizations which provide access to abortion services for women rely on to advocate on behalf of choice for women. This is why the National Organization for Women opposes Proposition 34. So who else opposes Proposition 34? Other than the National Organization for Women is the National Organization for Women in California, National Organization for Women Hollywood, Unite Here Local 11, the Dolores Huerta Foundation, Coalition for Economic Survival, which is our leading tenant rights organization in California and oldest organization in California, the California Democratic Party Renters Council, Consumer Watchdog, and the Monterey County Renters United. And I'll end with a quote from Christian Nunez, who is the president of the National Organization for Women. The National Organization for Women is opposed to Proposition 34, which is a dangerous initiative that has long-term repercussions for women's reproductive health advocacy. I am urging you to vote no on Proposition 34.
Okay, thank you so much, Susie, and stand by. Okay, Vanessa, you have 1 minute to respond.
Yeah, well, thank you so much again for the opportunity. I know the opposing side had, a different, message to convey with you all. But again, we are very proud of the coalition that we've built on the Yes on 34 coalition. We are not MAGA Republicans. I wouldn't say you would call nurses and firefighters necessarily MAGA, and we're very proud of the other patient care organizations that have endorsed our side. But in addition to that, I know there is an argument being made about the potential impacts it could have to reproductive care and reproductive access, but I can share that the Planned Parenthood Affiliates of California has officially not taken a position on 34 and has even released a statement in the most recent weeks about how this Prop 34 would actually have no impact on their operations and their ability to provide reproductive care and access. So I'm happy to share these materials with you all. So you all can make the best informed decision for your Democratic Club. Again, thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thanks so much, Vanessa, and then we'll give Susie another minute.
Thank you. So the California Apartment Association has a board, and on that board include 3 mega Republicans who have given money to the Trump administration, including Stephen Schwarzman, who many of you may remember actually filed a lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles to stop them from putting in a law for inclusionary zoning for affordable housing. So you need to look at who is supporting this. The National Organization for Women is one of the leading advocacy organizations on choice and women's issues. The California Renters Council, Coalition for Economic Survival, we have a growing large coalition of folks. And this is being put on by the California Apartment Association. When was the last time that you thought corporate developers and corporate landlords could tell you more about what's best for patient care than the actual nonprofit clinics providing the actual patient care? So please, I urge you to vote no on 34. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that good discussion. And we're ready to move on to Prop 35. We have
Okay, you don't want to go back to
oh,
30.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad all of you are paying attention. 32. Oh my. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so Brian is now here. Back to 32, the minimum wage bill.
Thank you. I'm Brian Bloom, Political Director for the California Federation of Labor Unions. Thank you for your time. So I'm here to talk in support of Prop 32. Every Californian who works at least a full-time 40-hour work week should be able to afford life's basic needs. However, there are about 2 million Californians who are working full-time and more, but earn less than $18 per hour. Most of these Californians who earn less than $18 per hour are the heads of their households. Most of these Californians who earn less than $18 per hour have children. We can all agree that Californians who work hard, working full-time or more, should not live in poverty. But that's exactly how millions of Californians are forced to live now, because their wages are too low to afford how expensive life has become in California. Prop 32 would do something about that. By raising the minimum wage to $18 per hour, Prop 32 will bring a much-needed raise to 2 million California workers and create a more prosperous system where big corporations aren't allowed to exploit smaller businesses, our communities, and our hardest working neighbors. When more Californians get a wage for their work, our entire economy does better. Working people are better able to afford their rent, provide 3 meals per day to their kids, and all of that spending boosts the economies of our local communities. That boosted spending creates more jobs in our communities, which makes everyone better off. It also reduces the strain on our social safety net. When people are working full-time but can't escape poverty, they have to rely on additional aid. And that puts a strain on our governmental social safety net. It should be their employers who are making record profits that should be paying these workers a fair wage, and not the rest of us having to pay for the aid that some of these people may need. Yes on Prop 32 means a raise for service, essential, and other workers to help them afford life's basic needs. It means a raise for single moms to help them afford life's basic needs. It means closing the gender pay gap for over 1 million working women. This is a straightforward message. Workers aren't being paid enough. This would ensure that there is a better threshold for workers in California. And that's why working people across California, California's unions, all are supporting Prop 32. And we encourage you to endorse yes on Prop 32. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Brian. And now is John Kabatek in the Zoom? Okay, so speaking against Prop 32, we have John Kabatek, who is the State Director of the National Federation of Independent Business.
Yeah, thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, thank you. Yes, hi. It's nice to be with you. I am the state director of the NFIB. We are the largest nonpartisan small business advocacy group in California and the nation. About 14,000 small businesses here today. Appreciate being here. Even this many years after COVID, we're hearing the same thing from small businesses and workers, and that is the word uncertainty. A recent survey that we did of our small business owners basically showed that only 8% of small business owners expect economic conditions to improve over the next 6 months. Unexpected costs add to that pain, and that's why a $2 minimum wage increase to the already second highest in the nation makes bad matters terribly worse for already struggling small business owners and their workers. We used to look to other states, frankly, for horror stories on minimum wage, but we looked no further than our own backyard for examples of the fallout. West Hollywood, which is just 11 miles from all of you, with the highest standard local minimum wage in the US at $19.08 an hour. The council raised it to $19.61 recently, but they actually delayed it from July of this year to January, citing the impact that it had on what they cited as a 39% reduction in jobs because of the minimum wage. So they extended it to January. Governor Newsom, by the way, signed legislation to raise the minimum wage to $25 an hour for hospitals and hospital workers and vendors on hospitals. He delayed that from July to October at least, citing the impact it will have on state coffers. Why not apply that same standard to job creators on Main Street? So the governor also signed legislation, as you may know, to raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour for fast food workers. Since that went into effect in April, let me point a couple things out. Number one, 70% of fast food operators have laid people off. That's close to 10,000 jobs. That's about 1,300 delivery drivers. Those jobs are gone. 98% raised their prices on an average of 8%. And many of them, as you're already finding as consumers, are switching to kiosks. So many of these young workers who are looking for that first entry-level job just simply aren't finding them, and that's just a fact. Let's be clear also what minimum wage won't do, despite what proponents claim. Minimum wage workers make up just 1.4% of all hourly paid workers, so it doesn't impact the majority of the workforce, despite what you'll hear. 63% of all workers who are earning minimum wage, 63% of workers earning less than $9.50 an hour are the second or third earners in their family. So the assertion that minimum wage earners are trying to sustain their families, just not true. And finally, research done by the economists to the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco concluded that higher minimum wage does not, quote, reduce the use of government subsidies or lifting people out of poverty. So in conclusion, sure, Prop 32 may put a few extra bucks in the pockets of a small number of workers for a very, very short time, but at what cost? Layoffs, higher prices, robots, and most importantly, lost opportunities for young people, the people we're trying to help here. So that's why we hope that your Democratic club will actually join the effort to oppose Prop 32. It's flawed policy that will actually hurt and not help California workers on Main Street. Let's have a real discussion about wages and benefits. This takes us down the wrong road, and we're already seeing it in California in these past 6 to 8 months. So thank you.
Okay, well, thanks so much, John. We're going to take it back to Brian, give you a minute to respond to what you just heard.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that over the last 30 or 40 years in California and America, we've seen ever worsening economic inequality. We have seen an economy that's been unfair for workers. It used to be that as productivity increased in America, workers' wages rose along with it. We've seen that disconnect, though, for the last 40 or 50 years. As businesses and corporations have been making record profits, workers have not been sharing in that increase in wages. Prop 32 goes a small way with trying to correct that. We have a lot of work to do, a lot of policy changes to address economic inequality. Prop 32 is one simple way here in California. We can do a small part to help 2 million workers who otherwise would live in poverty to get a little bit of a wage and to get a little bit fairer slice of having a better life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian. And John, you have an additional minute if you would like to respond to that.
Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate Brian and the chance to have this discussion and all of you inviting us. And I would just say, like, again, 99.2% of all businesses in California, all the job creators are small businesses. So when you go down Main Street in Santa Monica or California, any part, Sacramento, most businesses are small businesses. The challenge is they just can't afford it. We talked about picking on corporations, and corporations have their own challenge issues that, of course, we focus on. But most businesses, ladies and gentlemen, are small businesses. And again, as we're finding, job loss, we're finding, and this is not just I'm telling you, this is affecting a lot of folks who are on Main Street. So we're seeing job loss, we're seeing prices raised, and we're seeing these small businesses that just can't compete on Main Streets in Santa Monica or anywhere else. So this is just the wrong approach. Let's have an honest discussion about wages. But Prop 32, as we're seeing in our own backyard of California, is taking us down the wrong road. And we want to give people hope and not the chance to shut their doors and be out of work.
Okay, well, thanks to both of our speakers. So there you have it, Prop 32. We want to raise the minimum wage to $18. You know, or we want to help workers, or we want to help small business. Well, we've heard both sides. Okay, let's move on to Prop 36. And thank you to our speakers. 35, okay. I keep trying to skip you because once we got out of order, okay, 35, Medi-Cal funding. The one thing that makes this easier, there is no opposition to this. We could not find anyone opposed or no ballot arguments against it. So Shai is just going to tell us what it is. Shai is a good friend of the club. He's a previous president of this club. He's a Santa Monica College trustee. And he is also past president of the Los Angeles Medical Association. So thank you, Shai, and a practicing doctor.
Thanks, everybody. And I'll keep this short. Great to address this great club again. So Prop 35 is not overly controversial. The California Democratic Party has endorsed Proposition 35. It basically extends and makes permanent recently legislated in the last couple of years managed care organization tax. So tax on insurance companies that is going to be directed towards Medi-Cal. And so this has been the case for the past 2 years already. And this is going to make it permanent so that there's a permanent tax on managed care organizations that is going to be directed towards Medi-Cal. And as somebody who practices at a public hospital at Harbor UCLA, I know that Medi-Cal access to care is way below community standard for patients with other forms of insurance. And so primary care appointments still can take several months. Specialty appointments can take several months. And so it's needs a lot of help, and both in terms of resources and coordination. So please, again, tonight support Prop 35 and then on your ballot in November. So thank you. I'll take any questions if there are.
Okay, yeah, we have no opposition speakers, so I guess we can take questions.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Shai, for explaining that one to us. Oh, he's getting some applause. Very good. Okay, now our next measure is, I'm just going to say, quite controversial. I mean, you may have already seen articles about it. You may see them coming up. So it's going to be very interesting to hear the two sides of this. Prop 36 has to do with drug and theft penalties. So it's kind of called the tough on crime measure. And well, we have a speaker who's in the house here. Craig is going to be back speaking for this time, Prop 36.
Thank you again. Thank you all again for anyone who came in late with the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. As you probably know, Prop 36 is called the Homeless, Drug Addiction and Theft Reduction Act. It's backed by law enforcement groups and retailers. Despite that, I think we all should support it. We've all experienced going into drugstores and not being able to just grab everything that we like off the shelf these days. We need to have help. We need to have someone has to come and open locked glass doors and get just some of the basic things, deodorant, shampoo, things of that nature, and help us get those. Prop 47, which was labeled a Safety Act, reduced some theft and drug felonies to misdemeanors. Prop 36 would get a little tougher on those things and also offer drug and mental health treatment as an alternative to incarceration. It would allow judges to sentence some individuals to state prison instead of county jail. The surge of retail theft, vehicle break-ins, and open drug use on California streets has just increased the burden on first responders and on taxpayers, as well as raising insurance costs throughout the states. I know that many businesses and homeowners are having a lot of trouble getting insurance these days. All of these increased taxes and increased costs lead to higher taxes. Statewide, the Public Policy Institute of California found that reported shoplifting of merchandise worth up to $950 soared 28% over the past 5 years. And combining the shoplifting with commercial burglaries, the Institute's researchers found that total reported thefts were 18% higher than in 2019. Also, since Prop 47 passed, homelessness is up by 50%. So while it may sound cruel to increase the penalties for these crimes, I think it will go a long way to protecting citizens and property in the state of California. Thank you.
You piece of shit.
Oh, you shouldn't have your mic on when you say those things.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, everybody in the Zoom, please make sure you are muted. I didn't hear what she said, but, oh, I didn't hear it, but you can tell me later. Okay. Sorry if there was something in play. Okay. Okay, so that is the argument for why we should support Prop 36. And is Claire Simonage in the Zoom? Okay, so
Yes.
Claire Simonage, I don't hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Or
Simonage, but it's okay.
Simonage? Okay, she is the Associate Director of Vera, California. And Vera, I looked it up because I wanted to see what it was. National organization that is fighting to end mass incarceration and spark investment in programs that promote safety and wellness. So Claire, tell us why you are against Prop 36.
Yes, thank you for that introduction. And I'm so sorry I can't be there in person today. I was having some car troubles, but my name is Claire Simonage. I'm the Associate Director at Vera. There's actually many things that I agree with my opponent on this. First of all, we all deserve and want to live in safe and stable neighborhoods. We all want to shop in peace, and none of us wants to deal with that plexiglass deodorant jail. I also agree that our communities and our local businesses are facing real challenges. We all walk around, see empty storefronts and people suffering. But the tough on crime proposition, Prop 36, is not the solution. It's going to cost taxpayers heavily, and it's not going to make our neighborhoods safer or improve our shopping experience. I'll give 5 quick reasons why you should oppose Prop 36. The first reason is that California communities stand to lose $750 million in funding for programs like housing, mental health services, drug treatment, all of the things that prevent crime and keep our communities safe. Those things are on the line if Prop 36 goes through. I'll give an example. There's a great program in an LA County school district that provides violence prevention programming. It's funded by Prop 47, so its funding is at risk from Prop 36. After doing that programming, students in that school saw an 89% reduction in arrests. So these things that Prop 36 is going to cut funding for are precisely the things that keep our communities safe. Second, Prop 36 will cost local taxpayers $50 billion over the next decade. It's going to therefore take money away from much needed efforts like stopping the flow of drugs into California and regulating online marketplaces. Third, Prop 36 will do nothing to address homelessness, and in fact, is going to make homelessness worse. It doesn't increase affordable housing stock. It doesn't fund local efforts to help people experiencing homelessness. It won't help renters. It won't provide support for first-time home buyers, and it's not going to help unhoused people whatsoever. In fact, the research shows it's going to make homelessness worse because people who go through the criminal legal system are 10 times more likely to become homeless. Fourth, Prop 36 is not going to address retail crime. There are simple solutions that will prevent some of these concerns we're seeing, like having more employees in the store, including greeters, and changing store layouts. These are things that both major CEOs and retail unions support. And finally, Prop 36 risks making the drug and overdose crisis worse by increasing drug overdoses in our communities. I want to quickly share some of the supporters on our side who oppose Prop 36. Those include the California Democratic Party, the SEIU, and the League of Women Voters. These are big powerhouses who have come out to say that Prop 36 is not the type of smart solution that will bring us safety in our community and the stability that we deserve. So please vote no on Prop 36.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Claire. And Craig, you can have another minute if you would like. Craig's passing on his other minute. And did you have anything else you wanted to say, Claire? Or did you wrap it up?
No, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to hear me on this, and I'm happy to answer questions or talk about it anytime. But I think Prop 36 is not the right solution for Santa Monica or for Santa Monica Democrats. I appreciate your time.
Okay, well, we really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. So I believe, yes, we have made it through the state ballot measures. So thank you so much for your attention and the speakers. But no, we're not. That's just the state ballot. What you're gonna see when you get to voting, then you're gonna turn the page and you're gonna get to LA County measures. Just 3 of those though, but there are 3 that are for LA County. So we've got them in alphabetical order. So measure A is known as the homelessness tax. And we have Chris Bowen, who is in front of the club. Is he in the Zoom? Okay, Chris, and is a former member who moved a little while ago. He's the director of policy at LA Family Housing now.
All right. Good evening, Democrats, as my good friend John Katz would say, probably a little late in the evening to be saying that. But tonight I wanted to come before you and present Measure A, which will secure much needed ongoing funding for homelessness services and affordable housing production in the County of Los Angeles, along with critical renter supports that are needed. As you know, housing justice is racial justice. And with a disproportionate number of Black and Brown people experiencing homelessness and housing instability, this is LA County's opportunity to align our budget with our values. Currently, the LA County budget has 3.4% of its funding going towards homelessness prevention. And the entire budget is $43 billion. Right now, we are honored to enjoy endorsements from Santa Monica Council member Carolyn Torosis and Jesse Zwick. Also, organizations like the People Concern, Abundant Housing in LA, and hundreds of other progressive organizations have endorsed this ballot measure. It is a historic investment in homelessness services and affordable housing. And it is a continuation of the work that was done from Measure H. That was passed in 2017. Unfortunately, it had a sunset of 10 years built into it. And so we wanted to ensure that the dollars were renewed for homelessness services. And in addition to the homelessness services dollars, which are so critical to bring our unhoused neighbors inside, we also know that housing production is a problem that must be addressed. And that is why that we are proposing a sales tax at 0.5%, and that will allow the county to receive approximately $1 billion. And if I could share my screen, Isabel, is that okay to show a pie chart?
I'm gonna have to ask Natalia. Natalia, can he? Oh, Natalia's gone, and now John is doing the tech. So let's see if John can handle this. John, can Chris share his screen? Yes, he's gonna let you.
But it's okay. But it's okay if I don't. I'll give you the broad contours.
He's gonna give you permission to share the screen.
Okay.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, how you doing?
Um,
But as John's working on that, I will say that the extra dollars will be going to affordable housing production, which is very important. So that's,
Anyway, okay, you can share your screen now.
oh, great. Okay. And so you'll see this is the budget breakdown of where these dollars will go. So 60% will go to those homeless services and mental health services that I was talking about. 26% will go towards affordable housing. 11% will go to homelessness prevention and renter supports. 3% will go towards accountability, innovation, and data. And 15% is guaranteed local solutions fund within homelessness services. So this is very important that we have both homelessness services and affordable housing included. When we're talking about how much people are going to pay, we're talking average about $5 a month. So we wanted to make it reasonable, but that everyone would be able to contribute in a small way across the county. And so I think that is the broad contours of what I wanted to discuss with you today about Measure A and hoping for an endorsement from this club.
Okay, well, thanks, Chris. We appreciate the visuals and you explaining it so clearly. And as I understand, we already have the 1/4 cent tax. This just raises it to a 1/2 cent. So it just actually raises it by a 1/4 cent, right?
Well, technically, it's a repealing and a replacing
Oh, because
of
the other
Measure
one
H. So,
expires in 2027.
well, what this will do is when it's passed, if it is passed, it will repeal Measure H and replace it with Measure A, which will go on forever, whereas Measure H was going to sunset in 2027 at a 1/4 cent, and this will go as a 1/2 cent in perpetuity.
Right. Okay, so very small increase. Okay, well, thanks so much. And there's no announced opposition for this, so we are just gonna leave it at that. The next county measure is G. This one, you know, if you read the newspaper or following the news, this one has gotten some news coverage. And it is a proposal by our county supervisors, Lindsay Horvath and Janice Hahn, to overhaul our county government. And we have here to, I think Cecilia you're here. She's in person. We have the senior policy advisor for Supervisor Lindsay Horvath to come tell us about this measure. Cecilia, thank you so much for coming down.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about governance reform in Los Angeles and why we need that. So just a little bit about the county. The county is an entity that a lot of people aren't familiar with because we are this big mass of I mean, covering 10 million people, thousands of miles. We have each supervisor, 5 of them, representing 2 million people each. Not the best for constituent services, you can imagine. And we have an annual budget of $46 billion. And yet we only have 5 people in charge of that government. And they act as both the legislative and the executive branch. So in terms of separation of powers and checks and balances, that's kind of not there. There are a lot of things the county does, but the most important thing we do is we're the social safety net for the county, for our most vulnerable populations. So it's everything from kids who are in foster care, anybody who's justice system involved, you know, in probation or in the county jails, people who are on food assistance. It is an enormous task and great responsibility, and yet we also have what seem like intractable problems, systemic problems that repeat themselves. It's like Groundhog's Day over and over again. And I think essentially it's because we have a structure that isn't conducive to accountability. We have departments that report to the 5 supervisors equally, and yet the CEO, who is our administrative officer essentially, is the one that is in charge of the budget. And the departments will be more inclined to listen to the CEO than they will to the supervisors, because she holds the purse strings. She does a great job, but it's not, she's not elected and accountable to the people, to the voters or to anyone, except for the Board of Supervisors. So I'm going to talk to you about what Measure G does. There's three main components. The first is creating an elected executive. Now, there's a lot of misinformation for those of you who are familiar with this, calling it an elected CEO, elevating our administrative officer to an elected position. That is not what this is. If you think about every form of government at every level except the county, whether it's big cities like Los Angeles or New York, or the state government, you have the council and the mayor, the state legislature and the governor. And the federal level, you have Congress and you have a president. So this is in a new elected executive. The current CEO would revert back to the position which is it was intended, which is an administrative officer supporting this new elected executive. That administrative officer would be responsible for assisting the new executive with the budget and other administrative duties. Additionally, we would expand the board from 5 seats to 9, and we create an independent ethics commission and a bunch of reforms under that.
I'm gonna give you a little extra, because you have to explain what it is.
Yeah, no, okay, I'll be, my notes are. Yeah, no, the expanding the board from 5 to 9, which essentially cuts the districts in half. 1 million people is still a lot of people, but currently Supervisor Barger has a district that goes from the Ventura County line all the way to the San Bernardino County line. So at least by cutting it in half, we have a better chance at more reflective representation of the county. We would also create an independent ethics commission, which is, in our mind, not something that is going to be appointed by the Board of Supervisors, but we're hoping to have that be a process like our independent redistricting commission, which is an application process that you meet certain criteria and it is evaluated by a third party who then chooses half of the commission, and then the commission then chooses the other half. And along with that, we would create an Office of Ethics Compliance. We have all of these ethics type functions spread out throughout different departments. We don't really have any kind of enforcement mechanism, and we don't have anything that is updating or making sure that we're complying with updates to state law. So that's what we would essentially create.
Okay,
thank you.
great. Okay, thank you so much, Cecilia. I assume you're Ruth? Yes, she's coming up here. So we do have someone to explain some of the opposition arguments. Ruth Galanter, who was a 4-term member of the LA City Council. She's a former Santa Monica resident and coastal commissioner. Ruth, you want to come on up?
Thank you for letting me do this. Oh, we old people have to change our glasses here. And then my hearing aids do funny things. I'm here to ask you to vote no on this proposition. It's got several serious problems. The first one is it's a giant plate full of stuff. And you've heard some of the stuff she didn't get to finish because there's so much, it takes more than 3 minutes to explain it. It's all mushed together in one, and there's no a la carte option. If you buy it, you pay for the whole thing and you swallow the whole thing. I would not object to voting on individual proposals, but I think it's a mistake to do 5 or 6 different things in one. Plus, the proposition says there will be no new sources of revenue needed, which means the money has to come from someplace, and it doesn't tell you where it's going to come from. So let's go through a couple of the details. The Board of Supervisors would be expanded to almost double this present size, but it would lose part of its responsibilities, which are the basic, to me, the basic function of county government, to make sure public services reach the people who need them. But as I read this proposition, it's 35 pages long. The proposal is to take away executive responsibility. And you just heard there's a hybrid in the current situation. And to turn this newly expanded Board of Supervisors into just a legislature, which some might call a debating society. We already have a state legislature. All of the county residents who happen to live in cities already have their own city legislature. But we would now double at roughly 300,000 a year salary, the number of supervisors plus all their staff, and take away half their functions. At the same time, we would create an ethics commission. Let me tell you, the city of Los Angeles has had an ethics commission for 30 years. It doesn't work. It is not a model to eliminate corruption. Everybody means well, but it does not work. The stuff you read about, the stuff that has us all wringing our hands, are violations of criminal law the criminal laws are already on the books. The enforcement mechanism is already there. Bribery and extortion are crimes. Yes, they're unethical, but they are crimes. The proposition would also create, remember this ethics commission is going to have a staff, it's going to have office space. Would also create a charter review commission, an ongoing one. An ongoing charter, which means to justify its existence, it will be tinkering with the charter over and over and over again, whether it needs it or not. That's how you stay in business. At the present time, the county executive, whose title I've lost track of here, reports to the supervisors. So he's accountable to somebody. And he doesn't report to the supervisors. All right, he doesn't. But if he is an elected executive, what do we need the supervisors for? I mean, we have hardworking supervisors and they're smart, but we won't need them if we have somebody else running the executive thing. And last point, where's the money going to come from? It has to come from somewhere. We're going to cut doctors and nurses. We just had one here. We're going to cut firefighters. I'll stop.
Okay. Okay. It's a very substantial measure, so we have a number of aspects to address. Cecilia, you got 1 more minute to make the points you want to make.
1 minute.
Yep.
Okay. The measure specifically states that this does not cost, nor can it cost any additional cost to the taxpayers to implement, which means we are reallocating our $46 billion budget. The way the county looks now is not the way it will look once this is implemented. So functions that exist now will no longer be needed or consolidated. Number 2, I think the other thing about it, losing the functions, the supervisors, I will retain their legislative functions and do what they were there to do. They are not just representatives of municipal services, but they do the legislative policy for the social services, which is the most important thing they can do. And then the Ethics Commission, I think in Los Angeles, I think it depends whether you think it works or not, but the big difference is that it's appointed by the electeds in the city of Los Angeles, and that's not the vision for this measure. And the Charter Review Commission, we think will meet only every 10 years, make recommendations to the board, and then have the board, they are required to vote on those recommendations up or down. That is happening because we haven't changed the charter since 1912, when women didn't have the right to vote. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Oh, yes, you get your extra minute and use it wisely.
All right, if you can't tell us what you're going to, reallocating means cutting something. You're going to reallocate, and you should reallocate the money every year. That's what the budget process is for. But before I would vote to expand the board, change the whole system around, change who's responsible for what, I want to know where the money is going to come from.
Okay. You have the pro and the con there, so everybody think about it and how you want to cast your vote for that one. So the last county measure, we are getting near the end. We got one more county measure and then a few local Santa Monica measures. County Measure E, this came out recently. There are no supporters or opponents listed, no speakers, so I'm just gonna tell you briefly what it is. It is a parcel tax for firefighters and paramedic services. And so what it states is that it's an ordinance to assure a local firefighter and paramedic emergency response, including wildfires, house fires, heart attacks. So it goes on basically what all those emergencies might be. Also to hire and train firefighters and paramedics, upgrade the firefighter safety equipment, fire engines, and so on. The 911 communication system. So that's what the money would go for. Where would it come from? It would be a 6 cents per square foot on parcel improvements. So that would provide about $152 million annually. And but it would exempt low-income seniors. So that is LA County Measure E, the fire protection. That's what that one is for. So now we're going to move on to Santa Monica. Santa Monica, our city. Okay, is Lana Negretti here? Yeah, no, yes, you're here. Okay. Okay, so our Santa Monica City Council member Lana Negretti is here to tell us about Santa Monica Measure F, the business license tax modernization. Thanks so much, Lana.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna stay within the 3 minutes. I know it's late. So Measure F is the Santa Monica business license tax structure. So every business in the city of Santa Monica is required to file a business license application before operating and must pay an annual business license tax fee, big or small. Currently, the license tax ordinance was last updated in 1990. So it no longer reflects the realities of today's economic environment, and its outdated system has led to some severe inequities. The council voted to adopt a resolution placing Measure F on the ballot in November. And it incorporates key changes intended to reduce barriers for small and local businesses while prioritizing equity and fairness. The council adopted several goals to guide the updated business license tax ordinance. So this includes supporting small businesses by reducing the tax burden, especially for retail establishments, small property owners, and restaurants, lowering business license taxes for new and startup businesses, increasing the corporate administrative headquarters tax rate, and to close tax loopholes. How does Measure F affect the community? Well, we estimate that it's going to be generating roughly $3 million, which will go to the general fund, which could be used to increase our 911 services, public safety, maintaining our parks, and addressing homelessness. How does Measure F affect local business owners? Modernizing the city's business license ordinance requires voter approval and will provide the following tax reductions to businesses. Reducing the business tax license rate for small retailers and restaurants with annual receipts under 5 million to 0.115%. To reduce the business license tax rate for residential property owners with 3 or fewer rental units to 0.125%. Reducing the business license taxes for small business and disabled persons by increasing exemptions for these businesses to $100,000 from $40,000. Reducing the maximum penalties from 100% to 50%, and reducing the business license tax due for new businesses during their first renewal cycle. Measure F will also adjust the tax rate for 2 classifications of businesses. It will increase the corporate administrative headquarters rate from 0.125 to 0.25, making us comparable to other cities around us. And it will also remove the auto dealer business license tax cap of $25,000 and align the tax rate for their service operations with other service providers. And I want to point out that that also puts us in alignment with our neighboring cities. If passed, the measure would also restore a business license processing fee, which is set at $40 and can be adjusted by resolution. There's also public accountability. Measure F includes some safeguards to ensure that the new ordinance is implemented and managed efficiently, fairly, and transparently, which includes creating a public accessible administrative regulations to provide clarity for business operators. I'm a small business owner myself, and I can tell you right now, it's not clear and it doesn't exist. Quickly implementing administrative changes to make it easier for businesses to understand and comply with the program by simplifying admin and phasing in the business license tax rate increases for those auto dealers I mentioned earlier and corporate administrative headquarters over a 3-year period. So it would go into effect January 1st, 2025, but it will not affect current businesses until August 31st of 2025.
All right, Lana, well, we really appreciate you coming down and explaining that all to us. And so far, there's no opposition on record, and we don't have a speaker. Was there anyone here who wanted to speak
to go
against it? Right, but just where you're going out for dinner, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So far, no opposition to this, so thanks for explaining it to us. Really appreciate it. Okay, the next one is Jesse's, oh, yes, Jesse's right in front of me, okay. We have two kind of companion measures, so our other council member, Jesse Swick, is gonna tell us about those, Measure K and Measure PSK.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. During my time on, ready? Okay. During my time on council, we've, really been dealing with 3 very pressing needs. The first, homelessness, mental illness, and the perceptions of lack of safety that some residents feel because of these issues in our community. The second, fatal and severe traffic accidents caused by motor vehicles, which harm pedestrians, cyclists, the elderly and disabled, and children disproportionately in our community. And finally, a fiscal crisis that we're experiencing as a city, which is rendering us incapable of responding adequately to the first 2 problems. Measure K was designed to make a positive impact in all 3 of these areas, and here's how. By levying a small tax increase on parking in private facilities like hotels and office buildings, while exempting street meters and public lots and structures, we'll be able to raise nearly $7 million annually at a time when the city desperately needs it. Most of that money will not come from people who live here, but rather those who drive into our city to stay at an overnight beachside hotel or park at a commercial facility like the Water Garden. But all of it will be spent locally on top priorities in our community, like mental health outreach, infrastructure to make our streets safer, and faster 911 emergency service from firefighters, paramedics, and police. Zooming out to a bigger picture, Measure K, I think, will be accomplishing 2 really major shifts in the way that we think about our problems as a city. The first will be more accurately pricing the cost of driving and parking so that it begins to approach its true cost, which includes pollution, traffic, injuries, and death, and then using that revenue to address those issues. The second is we'll be defining public safety in the broadest terms possible so that it encompasses both crime and bodily harm caused by motor vehicles, both fires and people suffering from a lack of mental health care. Because ultimately, no one wants their kid or their grandparent to get hurt, whether it's from a motor vehicle or a crime, it makes no difference. And we have a robust community of kids and students who walk, bike, and scoot to school, as well as elderly and disabled people who satisfy their daily needs without ever getting in a personal vehicle. It's one of the things I love most about our incredible city, and this measure will make sure we all get home safely. Finally, I think it's partly because of this universality that we've put together a really broad coalition of support. It's not easy these days to find issues where the Community for Excellent Public Schools, firefighters, police, mobility advocates, and Santa Monicans for renters' rights all agree. But I'm proud to say that all these groups have endorsed Measure K. When it comes to Measure PSK, this is an advisory that allows voters to state their preference that a portion of the new funds be prioritized to support traditional public safety agencies and activities, such as attracting and retaining police officers and firefighters, improving crime and homelessness prevention services, and increasing police patrols and enhancing emergency medical response. It's important to remember Measure PSK will only go into effect if Measure K passes, so you have to vote for both of them. Its role is the role of PSK is to assure voters who might be skeptical of the new tax, but you have 5 minutes for these?
No. Yeah, he didn't know that. Yeah,
Okay.
because you have 2 measures,
Yeah.
we'll give them 5 minutes.
That's okay. The role of PSK is to assure voters who might be skeptical of the new tax, but eager to support public safety, that the city will spend at least half the money it raises in this manner. So in conclusion, I urge you all to join parents, neighbors, mobility advocates, firefighters, and police in voting yes in Measure K and Measure PSK for a safer Santa Monica.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Jesse. Now, there's no official opposition to this, but if there's anyone who would like to express some thoughts, John Katz.
Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm John Katz. I'm the president of the Santa Monica Democratic Club. Anyway, I really agree with Measure K and definitely support it. I'm really grateful for the council for bringing it. I just wanted to speak about Measure PSK, and the board did not have a consensus on this one. There were some differences of opinion. I definitely think we should do this tax and create that revenue for the council, considering the shortcomings of the budget. However, I think that from the position of this club, we've endorsed 4 challengers to city council. So that means that if our election goes the way we want it to, we will have a completely new majority on the council. And I'm a little bit concerned about dictating to the new council how the new money should be spent. So I would like to see us pass Measure K. And I think that this club should not take a position on Measure PSK, so that we can allow, if the voters want to see the money spent that way, then the advisory measure will pass, and then that's fine. But I would rather give the flexibility to the new council to decide what their priorities are, because we know that their priority could be different from the council we have now. So it just, my recommendation is that we vote for no endorsement on Measure PSK.
Okay, thank you so much, John. So John's urging a yes vote on K and a not to endorse either way on PSK. Jesse, did you want to say anything in response to that?
Sure. I just want to thank John for supporting this tax measure. As he said, the funds are desperately needed by our city to address our top priorities. I will say that the way we got here was in a rare unanimous vote by council, by kind of combining some of the top issues that we all care about and putting that all under the umbrella of public safety. It's something that means something different to different people, but there's something in this for everyone. And that's how we got there. And I'd urge you to vote yes on both. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we are at the last measure. Congratulations to everyone who's still here. I think like everybody's still here. Congratulations to all of you. All right, so the last measure on the Santa Monica ballot is QS, which is our local school bond. And here to talk about that is a member of our Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District, Alicia Mignano. So you're here, and then you're here on the Zoom.
Good evening, Democrats. I'm Alicia Mignano. I'm an active member of the Santa Monica Democratic Club, and I also serve on the Santa Monica School Board. Before I start, I want to acknowledge that we have a longtime Samuel High teacher with us in the room, Claudia Bautista Nichols, and also, yes, and she's a longtime teacher. And then I also want to acknowledge that we have Nicole Ferries, our PTA, our Santa Monica Malibu PTA president, with us. In my role as school board member, I visited our schools frequently, and I've seen firsthand the challenges our facilities face. I'm here to express my strong support for Measure QS and urge you to join me. SMMUSD serves nearly 8,000 Santa Monica students at 12 school sites. We're consistently named among the top school districts in California and in the nation. We have a 98% graduation rate, but many of our schools are nearly 70 years old and desperately in need of repair and modernization to ensure the safety and success of our students. My first winter on the board, I was struck by the urgent need for repairs when I saw teachers covering books with blue tarps to protect them from leaky roofs in our elementary schools. Adding to this, students had to be relocated halfway through the school year because of mold in portable classrooms. These issues are more than just inconveniences. They are all threats to the safety and well-being of our students and staff. Bond measures are the method in which California schools obtain financial resources needed for school facilities improvements. Measure QS will provide the funds needed to fix those leaky roofs, update outdated wiring and plumbing, remove hazardous materials, and upgrade our classrooms our classrooms and labs technology. These improvements are essential, not just for safety, but for giving every student the best possible chance to succeed. I want to reassure you, the project list for Measure QS has been approved by the school board and progress is being made. Many projects are well into the design phase and have been submitted to the Division of State Architect for permitting. Approving this bond is not just about funding our schools, it's about investing in our future. By ensuring our children have access to safe, modern, and well-equipped learning environments, we are building a stronger, more prosperous community for everyone. I urge you to join parents, teachers, community leaders, Santa Monica City Council, PTA, SMER, SEPS by voting yes on Measure QS for quality public schools. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Alicia. We really appreciate you being here. And now to speak in opposition to Measure QS, we have Nikki Kohoff, who is the Vice President of the Friends of Sunset Park. There you go, Nikki.
Where's the timer?
She has the timer right there, and it'll be at the end of the 3 minutes. Okay, and you're on the Zoom here and in the room.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Nikki Kohoff. I'm a 26-year resident of Santa Monica, a former Dem Club member, and a parent of 2 children in the district for 15 years. My youngest just graduated a few months ago, so I'm very familiar with SMMUSD facilities. As a corporate finance lawyer, I also know that bonds are how we build schools, but not this bond. Many community leaders have already lined up to oppose this bond, including Friends of Sunset Park, Pico Neighborhood Association, Northeast Neighbors, Mark Verval of the city's audit subcommittee, and SMART. I'm here tonight to represent the view of many parents and residents who support our schools but cannot support Measure QS. I agree with Alicia that our schools are in terrible shape, but we've been bonding for decades and for a total of over $1 billion, and our schools are still not getting fixed. $1 billion in bonds and an annual operating budget of $143 million per year, and they wouldn't spend $300,000 on filters for clean air district-wide that would have benefited every student and teacher. $1 billion in bonds and an annual operating budget of $143 million, and they let mirror smash rot from leaky roofs and mold to the point it had to be taken down to the studs. Muir was our most diverse and socioeconomically disadvantaged school. The Grant trailers also disintegrated and had to be replaced with more trailers. $1 billion in bonds and an annual operating budget of $143 million per year, and our schools still have leaky roofs and trailers. If you give them another $500 million bond, our students and teachers will still be suffering in trailers. They only plan to replace 9 trailers with this bond, leaving at least 37 more because the district has chosen other priorities with this money. What did they do with the $1 billion spent while majority of our schools were neglected? Well, they spent $200 million on one building at San High that opened in 2022. That building has faucets that don't work, HVAC that hasn't functioned properly for at least 2 years, leaky roofs, and foul smells. But Superintendent Shelton and COO Carrie Upton did get a lovely trip to Portugal with one of the contractors. They also spent $45 million on the JAMS auditorium and its absurd amount for a middle school auditorium that requires special operator to work the sound. This pattern is not good for our students or teachers, but will continue unless we hold them accountable. Just like the last bond, Measure QS is a blank check. There is no legally binding project list that the district is required to complete. By law, the Bond Oversight Committee has no actual say in the projects and can merely confirm the bonds are spent on construction since there is no project list in the bond measure. Last year, the committee met only 2 times, and there are no minutes. The last annual report by the committee was 8 years ago. We know that $495 million is nowhere near the amount needed to fix our schools, so it matters that the funds are spent wisely. Most importantly, our students and teachers will continue to suffer in substandard facilities unless there is some accountability. The only way to get facilities that prioritize our students and teachers instead of a few expensive ones is to vote no on this endorsement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Nikki. And Alicia, you have 1 minute to respond.
US funds will upgrade and modernize Santa Monica's aging and outdated classrooms. I walked those grant, and that's those portable classrooms. And I want to say that one of the projects on that long project list that has been approved by the school board is to get new permanent fixtures that our students deserve. Our community, this is good for our community, and our QS funds will be subject to strict oversight by Citizens Oversight Committee and independent third-party financial performance audits. Providing safe and modern classrooms means higher student achievement and better working conditions for our teachers. Please join us and vote yes on Measure QS for quality public schools. Thank you.
Okay, and Nikki, you have an additional minute if you would like. Okay.
Yes, 6 of the 9 portables being replaced are at grant. Again, 37 will still be left when we are done. The outside auditor also doesn't check the quality of spending. All they can confirm is that money was spent on construction, not real oversight there. SMMUSD has declining enrollment, but it keeps building more and bigger. This bond will hit property owners and renters alike, and there is no senior exemption. SMMUSD's bond ratings have been downgraded because of deficit spending and dwindling reserves. The district board did not actually vote on this project list. It was merely presented to them. The school board, the executive board here actually based their decision on a presentation from the bond manager, paid 20 million by this bond fund. Again, students and teachers continue to suffer in these conditions unless there is accountability. It is time to say no, vote no, get an audit, and good construction. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So we appreciate all the speakers, and they've given you a lot to think about. We're gonna wrap this up, and thank you all for your attention. I hope you became very informed on these measures, and I think, John, are you gonna be telling us about how this voting is gonna happen? Yeah. Okay, I'm not very good at vamping. I will thank my co-producer, Lynn Servini. If you want, did I pronounce your name right? Please stand up. We've been, we have a lot of good speakers tonight, and he and I have been working every Monday morning. We've been meeting and discussing this and booking our speakers. And one interesting thing about the election is that there were twice as many bond measures originally put forward, and because of various negotiations, legislation, they were pulled off. So we had started working on even more of these before the state bonds got whittled down to 10. So, it's been quite a process getting to tonight. So thanks for everybody.
Let's hear it one more time for Isabel Story and Lynn Servini. They did such a Herculean task of putting this together. You all really have no idea. And also thank you, pro and con, to all the speakers who came through tonight. Whether you agree or disagree with them, it's difficult to do this kind of speaking and advocacy. So we really appreciate everybody's work. Okay, so 2 ballots are gonna come. If you're a member who has RSVP'd for the meeting, and you got the email from me today with the link to the Zoom or the address, then you'll get the ballot in the mail. If there's any issue receiving your ballot, you're going to send a private message in the chat to Mike Soloff. He's going to be monitoring, and he'll let you know, or we'll be able to get you situated. You can text him or me as well. So 2 ballots are going to come. The first ballot number 1, will be to everybody who's registered to vote as a Democrat in LA County. That will be all the statewide ballot measures and all the county measures. Then there will be ballot number 2, which is just the Santa Monica measures, and those will only go to you if you're a resident of Santa Monica. So if you're wondering why you didn't get a second ballot, You live in LA, that's the reason. So the recommendations are gonna be listed on the ballot, but I can run through them right now. I don't have the list in front of me, but basically it's, do you guys have the list of the measures really quick that I can look at? I know the recommendations, but I just want to make sure I say what each of them was about. Got it. Okay. So the descriptions of what each measure are also on the ballots, just the 2-word description, just to jog your memory. But so for Prop 2, the school bond, we recommend yes vote. For Prop 3, the marriage equality, we recommend yes. Prop 4, the climate bond, we recommend yes. For Prop 5, the affordable housing, we recommend yes. For Prop 6, ending slavery, we recommend yes. Prop 32, raising the minimum wage, we recommend yes. For Prop 34, the healthcare provider spending, we recommend no. Prop 35, Medi-Cal funding is a yes. Prop 36 for the drug and theft penalties increase, we recommend a no. And for LA County, we recommend a yes on Measure A and Measure G. That's the homelessness tax and the government reform proposal. For Measure E, we did not have a recommendation, no recommendation. Not no endorsement, but we just didn't recommend anything at all. Measure F, we recommend a yes. Measure K, we recommend a yes. Measure PSK, there was again no recommendation from the board. And finally, for Measure QS, the school bond, we recommend a yes vote.
John, would it be possible for the people on Zoom to see the visual for the bond? The QS?
Want to hold it up? Sure. Yeah, it's usually the visuals are PowerPoint screens, so we share them. But yeah, why don't we just give you a chance to.
Well, I have a day job and I don't have a $250,000 bond campaign. So that was the history building. Let me try to get it in there.
I think.
And that is the demolition of the history building. And the Muir Woods mural.
Yeah. Just wanted to show, just if you can take a step backwards. And
I've got the little, right, that's on Zoom?
Yeah, but it's.
Yeah. Mirror smash, crumbling to bits, bathrooms, leaky roofs. These are the toilets that will not be fixed in this bond.
Okay, I feel like now we're just adding time to your side. I think they just wanted to see the visual. That's okay.
Well,
Okay. I mean.
Now they know.
Now they've seen it.
So it's up here for anybody who would like to look at it.
Everyone in person can take a look at it up here. Okay, so to Janice's question, there's a question about the difference between no endorsement and no consensus. So no endorsement means we're actively advocating you to vote for that third option that's going to be on the ballot that says no endorsement. That we're saying to you, the membership, and this didn't happen from the board, but no endorsement would mean, if we recommended that we're asking you to vote for no endorsement, therefore the club doesn't take a position. Whereas no consensus, which is what happened on the board for a few of the instances, means that the board tried to discuss it and they were not able to come to a decision. There was no majority seeking to support yes, no, or no endorsement. So no consensus is something that happens by default when there is no consensus to vote on agreement. Or in the case of the fire one, there was no motion made because we didn't hear from the advocates, so we weren't able to make an informed decision. And then, which we did not recommend any no endorsements, but that would have meant that we're specifically saying we don't think the club should take a position. So when you vote, you'll have the option of yes, no, or no endorsement, and the fourth option will be abstain, which is no endorsement counts your vote as one of the voters, and so it adds to the denominator. no, or if you click abstain, that means you don't know anything about, you don't want to vote at all in that particular race, and so you're just staying out of it, and it doesn't count towards the denominator. Okay?
That you wanted for PSK?
For me personally, I'm recommending that we vote for no endorsement for that one. But that's not, the recommendation of the board was just simply that there was not a consensus for anything. It just, we didn't vote, we didn't have a majority of the board in agreement on how to proceed. Yeah. Yeah, well, it should be coming out in about a half an hour anyway, but if you're not here, we'll be emailing it out to everyone also. Okay, Frankie Carrillo, I saw him a minute ago, but he stepped out. Is he right there?
Are those being emailed out now, John?
I have to step away from the computer to do it, so it's kind of a balancing act. If he's not right there, then hopefully he didn't leave. Okay. I'm gonna get the ballot going to everybody, so that we can start voting, and then we'll figure out where he is. So everyone just hang 10 for a second. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. He was, and he stepped out like right as we were finishing. Yeah, I'm getting it out now. Anyone have any announcements?
Can you tell us anything about 33 since we already endorsed it, or is there anything more to say about it? Sure, it's been a lot of public here outside the meeting.
You should come up and use the microphone. Yeah.
So you mean on the microphone? Okay.
Speaker. All right. Okay, so we all here, that's 33, and Susie's here, she's working on the campaign, she can tell us how it's going.
Sure. So we have a lot of endorsers for Yes on 33, one of which is the Santa Monica Democratic Club. We do hope that you will volunteer, take a shift for texting or for calling to make sure that we're reaching as many voters as we possibly can. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and so it's really important to reach renters and renter advocates in terms of supporting this. And you can go to yeson33.org to find out how you can volunteer and get signed up. So I would leave it at that. And then I hope the Santa Monica Democratic Club will start sending out information on how you can get involved. I know that they sponsored a texting bank, which was really great, which was Susan Morich's house and Mike Soloff, who's back there. And so hopefully there will be more of those so that people can get involved. The great thing in relation to getting a lot of momentum for this is that President Biden has come out in favor of a 5% rent cap nationally. And our presumptive nominee, or our actual nominee, I should say now, is Kamala Harris, and she has also come out for a 5% rent cap and an entire program for going after corporate landlords and price fixing, which they've been doing using a platform called RealPage. And so this is really, like, over the last couple of days, the Harris Walz campaign has been releasing this information. And so it's really helped gain momentum since this is now becoming part of the national news.
Just to be clear, it's a 5% cap, like on projects that have federal funding. They can't declare an actual 5% cap, but it's definitely where they can. They're calling for that. They're also calling for building a lot of housing. They're saying they're looking more
we definitely need to build more housing, but we need to build affordable housing because I don't know anyone who's graduated from college right now that can afford a $3,500 a month apartment unless there's like 5 or 6 people in that apartment. So we need to build affordable housing. Just building luxury housing isn't really helping a lot of people. And I have a 16-year-old daughter who's going to be leaving for college and then hopefully being able to afford her own apartment. And so we need to be looking out definitely for the next generation.
Thanks, Susie. And if anyone's looking to get involved with Prop 33 volunteering, definitely talk to me. We'll get you plugged into the right place. The ballots are out. Everybody should have them in their email box. If not, just let us know. Okay. You have what? The ballots. Yeah. If you receive 2 ballots, that means you live in Santa Monica. Congratulations, great city. That means that you received the ballot number 1, which is all the statewide measures and all the county measures and the judicial race that we heard about at the beginning. And if you received ballot 2, then that's just the Santa Monica measures. So if you live in Santa Monica, you will have gotten 2 emails. If you live somewhere else in LA County, then you will have received 1 email. Okay, well, I guess Frankie Carrillo may have left at this point. That's true. Well, let's go to that for a little bit. If anybody who was at the DNC wants to share your thoughts about it, mic is open. Let's see. Susie's ready to go, but she just spoke, so I'm waiting to see if Annalisa or Carolyn or anybody else wants to jump in. Come on up. Yeah. All right, so Susie Shannon's coming back to let us know about how the DNC went there. So
Okay, so I think this is one of the most exciting Democratic national conventions that I've ever attended. And the first one was in 1992, which is when Bill Clinton was, deemed the nominee. That one was very exciting. This one was like 10 times more exciting. And every night there was some fantastic surprise. Like you just heard wonderful speeches and then Oprah Winfrey came out. And so I thought the entire convention was so exciting. There were times when I was on the floor that I felt like the entire place was just going to explode. There was so much excitement. And so, I'm very excited. I thought it was a great start, to this election cycle where, people are really going to be out there and they're going to be at the rallies and they're going to be walking and they're going to be phoning. And that was really exciting. I am the DNC Poverty Council Chair. And so we had a number of folks come and speak at the council. One thing that we had was a panel on Chicago. One of the things going on in Chicago is that they have public housing land that's being used for things other than public housing, like as soccer fields for a billionaire who owns a soccer team there, or a tennis club. And so Maxine Waters came and spoke to us while that panel was going on. And she has legislation that's actually going to make that public housing land just for public and affordable housing, which is absolutely fantastic. Congressmember Barbara Lee came and spoke, which was really wonderful. Our supervisor and former Secretary of Labor, Hilda Solis, came and spoke at the Poverty Council. And I know Carolyn Fowler, one of our DNC members, was there, and a few other folks. So I thought that was like, that's something that you won't see unless you're like on the DNC website and looking at the streaming video. But I thought it was great because California was very well represented. Jimmy Gomez came. Jimmy is also head of the Renters Caucus. He's chair of the Renters Caucus for that congressional delegation. So he came and spoke as well, and they all had wonderful ideas and fantastic legislation that they were promoting. And I think everybody saw the really exciting part on television. And then there were a lot of parties where like everybody, like, I don't know how people think I was so exhausted by the end of the night. By the time the convention ended, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to have like another 2 hours in me to go to these parties? But we somehow did. We somehow did it. And then everyone was just really exhausted the next day. It was also very hard to find a seat because the California delegation was right in the front, like right center stage. And there was kind of a hierarchy in how people were seated, but it was really hard to find a seat because obviously if you're, you know, from a state that's way in back on the top, you're going to want to kind of sneak up. And so the California delegation got little bracelets so that we could identify like who actually belonged in the section, because people were just standing in the aisles and then the fire marshal wanted to close it down. So there's a lot of drama around seating, but we had definitely California this time around, you know, since obviously our presidential nominee is from California, we were able to get center stage, and it was really exciting. One of the nights I was in like the second row, and it was just like being there. And then another night, because I was a council chair, I was able to actually be on the stage looking out at everyone. And it was just like from beginning to end, so exciting. And I think, you know, compared to the Republican convention, I think we just killed it. So hopefully this is going to energize a lot of folks to get out there and work on behalf of getting Kamala Harris and Walz elected.
Okay, do we have anybody else on the Zoom who was at the DNC who wants to tell us about their experience? I see Annalisa or Carolyn. Can you hear me? Okay, we're not hearing a response on that.
Question?
Back.
Question?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't get a ballot yet.
Okay.
What is your name?
Lori.
Lori Drucker. Okay. John's gonna look into that for you.
Okay.
Okay, so one thing I know about, which I think is very exciting, is that the West Side headquarters had its unofficial opening for about a week ago or so, and then his opening is it this Saturday, John?
Yeah, I'll
The
go back to
official
that.
opening?
Come back to
He's
that.
gonna come back to that?
No,
Okay.
like I'll do it right now.
Oh, do it right
We're
now.
vamping, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so just to remind everyone, what I said at the beginning, the West Side Democratic headquarters is on the promenade, 1241 3rd Street Promenade. It's directly across the street from Sephora between Arizona and Wilshire. And that is 100% federal elections focused. So if you hate all of our endorsements at the local level, looking at you, Nikki, then you can still go to the West Side Democratic headquarters, because that's why we designed it that way and sort of split it out as a branding thing so that everybody can work together on Harris Walz and flipping the house, which is something that everybody in the club agrees on. And it allows us to, I mean, we work on sending people out to the districts, the swing districts in California. We do calling, we do texting, we do postcarding. All sorts of stuff is going on. We're having events all the time. It be probably 1 or 2 events a week from now until the election. Every time that there's a debate, they'll be there watching in person. We were there on Thursday watching Kamala Harris accept the nomination. There were 200 people in attendance. It was really amazing to watch it in that context, in that room. So everybody come by 1241 3rd Street Promenade. This is how we're going to flip the house, because there's enough seats that are true swing districts in California that if we can flip just those, the rest of the country can take the season off and we'll still win. So we know we really want to see some opportunities to go into all the different districts and elect George Whitesides and Rudy Salas and Derek Tran and Dave Min and Will Rollins.
Yeah, we have an announcement of someone who's planning an event at the
Oh
West
yeah,
Side Edge.
come on over.
I thought it'd be a good opportunity.
Perfect, yeah.
since I'm here. Hi, everyone. My name is Zara Haji. I'm speaking with my hat on with the Asian Democrats of LA County, and we're partnering with West Side Dems HQ at their headquarters to host a Power Hour phone bank for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in Nevada, as well as a phone bank for George Whitesides, Derek Tran, and Dave Min. So if you're interested in joining, it's going to be a hybrid event. Both you can phone bank either in person or on Zoom, and it's going to be on October 2nd at 6 p.m. We're going to have a bunch of elected speakers from the West Side, as well as a couple celebrities who are going to come out. So would definitely encourage you all to attend, and I'm happy to send information to you all after if you want to send to your membership. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other announcements? We're basically just hanging out together until 10 when the election results will come in.
Make a quick announcement.
Come on over.
Go back from the flyer, but. Hi, y'all. Natalia Zernitska here, Santa Monica City Council endorsed candidate. Also, I'm taking off my recording secretary hat right now. I'm wearing my endorsed candidate hat. I'm having a campaign fundraiser next week. I would love for y'all to join. For those of you in the room, there are flyers in the back. For those of you on Zoom, I will drop the link to RSVP in the chat. Oh, it's Wednesday, the 4th from 5 to 7 p.m. in Santa Monica.
And you would know about it already if you were following us on Instagram. We have great stories posting on Instagram, and I'm trying to make myself seem younger than I am by using songs by Charlie XCX and Chappell Roan to try to reach younger voters. But yeah, definitely, if you are on Instagram, make sure you follow us, Santa Monica Democrats, on there, because that's another place. The email list and there are the two places you can get the latest news. Our next meeting is going to be the week after the election of let me look at the date. November 13th. We're going to have the post-election recap meeting. It'll be right here in this room. We're working on getting some experts to talk about local Santa Monica results, state results, county results, national results, and analyze them and sort of think about where we go from here at each of those levels. So and we typically do that every 2 years after the election. So it's always an interesting meeting. I know 8 days after a general election is a good time to reflect on where we stand. Anybody else out there want to say something? I mean, really, at this point, anybody?
Okay, from Lori. I did get the response back. You can hear me?
Yes.
And I'm not able to vote, so, but it was a very good exercise in
Okay.
going through it all. And then, did you say that this event with the West Side at the Promenade is at 12 noon Sunday?
That's right. Yeah, 12 noon
Okay.
Sunday. Ted Lieu is going to be there.
Okay.
Yona Ma, the treasurer, who's going to be running for lieutenant governor, or is
Okay.
lieutenant governor, and Betty Yee, who is
Mhm.
the controller, who's currently the vice chair of our state party, and she's going to be running for governor next cycle. And also Mark Ramos, the chair of our LA County party, is going to be there too. And what's cool, I mean, what we did in past cycles, you know, the last 2 cycles were kind of different because of COVID and recovering from that. But in 2018 and prior to that, we had our headquarters and we had guests coming in, whether they were the target candidates that we're trying to get elected, or our local House members, or we had, I remember visiting House members who were members of the, you know, the US House that represented like Illinois, and they were on their family vacation in LA, and so they popped in and said a few words. So you never know who we had. The former chair of the DNC, Tom Perez, whenever you think of him, he was there. He came by the headquarters to say hello. So there's always guests coming through, always events. They're talking about having bands perform and comedy acts and musicians and magicians and musicians all coming through the headquarters. So it's going to be okay, great. Yeah. Yeah. No, because the way YouTube works is, so the question was, when I put a music track on at the end of the video, do we get permission? And the answer is that YouTube allows you to put a song like that, then you just can't monetize it. So we don't put ads on our videos, you know. One of my favorite acts of all time, Warren Zevon. Yeah. So sorry, I want to make sure, I mean, almost everybody in the meeting is on Zoom, so right now they're just sitting in silence. Yeah, Janice recommended a song for the end of the meeting, which is I'll Sleep When I'm Dead by Warren Zevon, because Tim Walz referenced it on multiple speeches, his first speech, and then also at the convention.
So could you put it?
Yeah, I'll put it on if everyone wants to hear it. Why not? We're not doing anything.
And I noticed that I got email from the Harris campaign really early on about reproductive freedom, and they used the language, if you believe in reproductive freedom, cannot read. And it could not have been an accident that it references that great song from Sweet Honey in the Rock.
All right, well, we got the video playback. You're gonna full screen me?
Hi, Mark Barden at Sandy Hook Promise here.
Oh, we got an ad.
When the gunman shot his way into Sandy Hook Elementary School.
For a available time tonight, I want to thank you. They say that everything that dies someday will come back, and that's true. I hope I come back as Suzanne Summers. No, that sounds good anyway, but in case I don't, it's all right.
Of course you can't. Of course, it'd be too easy to just show the video without. That's not happening. Something weird happened. But I'll listen to it later on tonight. Hold on, now I can't even find it. There's something about trying to share the audio from the same computer that the Zoom is on. We have 3 minutes at this point, so. Hope everybody voted. That would be unfortunate if after all this, you weren't voting for some reason. No. Definitely not.
Can I ask a
Warren
question?
Zevon. Yeah.
I wondered, do you as a group then provide your endorsement to then some public place so that when voters look at the issues, they see that the Santa Monica Democratic Club
Yeah.
voted thus? So I see.
Yeah, so
Just
the-
like all the other organizations weighing in.
The club is going to send out a mailer to all of our voters here in
Okay.
Santa Monica. It'll also be on our website and our social media.
Okay.
And we will also be on a site called Blue Voter Guide. We had a
Okay.
presentation about that at our last meeting. And Blue Voter Guide is a website that tracks all the different organizations that endorse in different races, local races that are hard to find the endorsements for, and they collect it all together.
Okay, great. Mhm. Good.
You thought I was making it up? I saw Warren Zevon live in 2003, right? 2001 or something. It was before he died.
I hope that's not too loud. It's not too loud. How's the audio?
And by the time you have it set up, it's gonna be. Isabel's dancing. I know. Oh. Your niece is speaking my language tonight, musically. He's talking about the replacements and who's to do. Okay. 30 seconds. Get the final vote in. If anyone forgot to vote, now's the time.
Special. Found the still on sleep every day. If I started stupid, I'll shoot myself and I'll sleep every day.
There you go.
I'll sleep every day.
He's been September 4th. Okay, that's not good. Okay.
Timing.
Perfect timing. We have our results. I'm going to share the screen. We'll look at them live together. Everybody, thanks for hanging in there for 20 minutes of nothing.
Oh,
Okay, we have it up here.
okay.
Okay, so
They're doing the
Uh,
Santa Monica races first.
we're gonna do the statewide races first. So there were 63 ballots submitted. And so that means that to get to the threshold of 55%, you would need 35 votes. So 35 votes will be good. Did I do the math wrong? Abstains will come out of that. So that doesn't count towards Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah, in some races it will be. Yeah.
I know I escaped that.
Yep. Okay, so for example, the first race, there were 22 abstentions, so 41 votes were tallied. So for that one, the number would be 23, and we have 22. Okay, so that being said, though, that this number that came up they take out the abstentions for us in the calculation. So Prop 2, we did not reach the threshold by a single vote. Okay, for Prop 2, we endorsed with 90% yes, 98% for Prop 3, 95% for Prop 4, 89% for Prop 5, 95% for Prop 6, 94% for Prop 32, 85% for no on 34, 95% for Prop 35, 88% for no on 36. For the county measure A, 90% yes. For county measure G, we're at 55.74% yes, so that is endorsed by one vote.
What? It only takes 55%?
55% is our threshold, yeah. And then measure E fell short by a couple votes there. There's so many abstentions that it didn't get across. So no consensus is the outcome there. Okay, then let's go back to see the local. I will definitely provide it for you. Okay, ballot 2. Measure F, yes, with 92%. Measure K, yes, with 83%. PSK, no, is endorsed. Measure QS, yes, with 79% of the vote. Okay, so I mean, that pretty much does it at this point. We will send that out in an email, of course. You may be watching this video from the email that we send out tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. Remember to vote. Remember to vote exactly as the Santa Monica Democratic Club recommends, because those are the correct results. And have a great couple of months. We'll be back on November 13th to review how the election went. Everybody get out in the field. Let's get out the vote. Let's elect Kamala Harris. Let's elect Tim Walz. Let's elect Adam Schiff to the Senate. Let's make sure we keep the Senate majority. Let's make sure we flip the House. Let's win it here at Santa Monica City Council. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.
John.
Night.